The true young master. I bluntly refuse to return to my biological family. Why? Because I know the plot of this original novel inside out. The true young master is destined for a tragic end, no matter how hard he struggles. Eventually, he gets defeated by the fake young master. All those so-called biological family members are deeply brainwashed by the fake young master's protagonist Halo. No matter what happens, they will always side with that manipulative, two-faced drama king. I originally just stumbled upon a video summarizing this novel. In the comments section I casually typed, "If it were me, I'd make sure that fake guy is totally wrecked." Next thing I knew, my vision went black, and boom, I transmigrated right into the story. But hey, with the memories of 2 lifetimes, I can do whatever I want. Why on earth would I go out of my way to suffer? So, for almost a year since crossing over, I just laid back, chilled in my adoptive old man Arthur's fish stall, and lived the ultimate slacker life. Of course, I also used my past life's memories to make a little fortune on the side. Just as I was lounging around watching the climax of a movie, a sharply dressed old man walked in. "Greetings, young Master Carter. I am Butler William of the Lewis family. The master has sent me to bring you home." Before I could even reply, a familiar electronic voice chimed in my head. "Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the return to the family storyline. The true and fake young master fate system has been activated." Say what? You darn system. I'm living my best life here, and you just have to crash the party? I completely ignored Butler Williams standing next to me. Just looking at this system's name gave me a headache. "Hey Confucius," I mentally yelled at the system. "Do you have any idea how comfortably I'm living right now?" Seeing me space out, Butler William repeated himself. All right, I get it," I replied. "But Butler William, go back and tell that family of yours that I absolutely won't." Before I could finish, my throat felt like it was gripped by an invisible force. I couldn't speak. "Please cooperate with the storyline, host, otherwise this world will be reset, and you will cease to exist." Holy macaroni. I took a deep breath, turning to Butler William with a forced smile. "Alright, I'll go with you." Over an hour later, the car stopped in front of a magnificent main estate. Butler William opened the door. "Young master, we have arrived. The master and madam are waiting for you inside." Hearing this, I paused my mental boxing match with the system, reined in my wandering thoughts, and followed his lead. Right now, I just had to figure out how to speedrun this ridiculous plotline and go back to being a couch potato with old Arthur. Meanwhile, at the Lewis family's dining table, "It's okay, Julian," the mother Evelyn said softly. "Even if your brother comes back, we will always treat you as our own son." The third sister Chloe chimed in. "Julian, don't worry, you will always be mom and dad's child." She then turned to her parents. "But mom, dad, is it really okay to bring him back? I mean, he's been living out there for so long. He's probably a total..." Right on cue, Julian, the fake green tea young master, started his Oscar-worthy performance. "Third sister, it's not his fault. My biggest wish right now is to just get along with him." Hearing this, Chloe nodded affectionately. "Julian is the sweetest." Before she could finish her sentence, a clear set of footsteps echoed, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Seeing them all staring at me, I was about to step past Butler William to say something, but as I scanned the room, I noticed it. Just as expected, there was no seat for me at the table. "Ah, the classic script!" The true young master returns, only to find he doesn't even get a dining chair. Of course, I'm not the type to just swallow my pride. I heard every single word of Julian's little green tea speech. To defeat a drama king, you have to out-drama him. I walked up to the table and gave them a sweeping look. "So I suppose you all are my loving, biological family? You guys sure treat me well. On my very first day home, nobody even bothered to leave a pathetic little chair for me. On one side, you're showering Julian with affection, and on the other you're judging me, a guy you haven't even met yet. What a truly loving and united family." Faced with my sarcasm, the expressions of everyone at the table shifted awkwardly. For a moment, no one knew what to say. Seeing the silence, the fake young master Julian hurriedly spoke up. "I'm so sorry, brother. It's just that usually, it's only the few of us eating, so we temporarily forgot to add a chair for you." Wow, this line was both self-righteous and sharp. He was subtly implying, "You showed up out of nowhere, who can you blame but yourself?" Hearing his words, the guilt in my biological parents, Richard and Evelyn, hearts lessened slightly. At the same time, they secretly thought, "This kid really lacks manners." "Oh?" I leaned on my chin, looking at Julian who was playing the innocent victim. "I remember there are other sisters in this family, right? Why? Don't they get along with the family? Do they usually not come home for dinner either?" To deal with a two-faced snake, you don't need to be more two-faced. You just need to be sharper. You want to play the good guy? Let's see how long you can keep that mask on once I rip it off. Seeing her precious Julian under attack, Chloe instantly glared at me. Of course they come home. Our family relationship is great. Why would you say that? I shrugged, playing innocent. I was just curious. Because according to Julian's logic, if they came home, they'd probably have to stand and eat too. At this point, the system couldn't take it anymore. Host, don't mess around. You're just a supporting character, and the type that gets bullied endlessly. If you get kicked out of the Lewis family now, how will I get my performance bonus? I calmly replied in my head, my fate is my own, not the heavens. You told me to ensure the storyline progresses, but you didn't specify the process. Even with your 10.086 rules, there's no strict guideline on my attitude. System. Host, that actually makes too much sense. I can't argue with that. Seeing that I wasn't letting it go, Evelyn, though displeased, broke the awkward silence. Butler William, get another chair for the young master. Yes, madam. As he spoke, a glimmer of anticipation flashed in Butler William's eyes. He had a whole new level of respect for this newly returned young master. It seemed he and the maids would have some very entertaining drama to watch in this house from now on. When the chair was brought, I officially cleared the first hurdle of the true young master trope. Not having to stand while eating, I quickly polished off the steak and salad in front of me, then turned to a maid. Hello there, is there anything else? Looking at my untouched bowl of cream soup, Evelyn frowned slightly. You still have your soup. Wasting food is shameful. I smiled politely at her and deployed my past life memories. Sorry, I have a big appetite. Our family isn't so broke that you won't let me eat my fill, right? Seizing the rare opportunity, Julian instantly jumped in. Mom, please don't blame him. He's lived outside for so long. It's normal that he wants to eat a lot of things he's never tried before. Hearing this, Evelyn looked a bit disappointed. She shifted her gaze away from me, signaling the maid. Her impression of me dropped another few notches. I glanced at Julian, truly the king of the green tea kingdom. Noticing the change in Evelyn's eyes, I genuinely felt this family had some screws loose in their heads. They couldn't even see through such basic manipulation? But right now, I had no energy for petty fights. A full stomach was the top priority. Half an hour later, as I finished my last piece of crab, Evelyn finally turned to Julian. Julian, take your brother upstairs to his room. Even though Mom doesn't have the best impression of you yet, Carter, you are still my flesh and blood. I want Julian to lead the way so you two brothers can get a little closer. I thought to myself, let's see if this guy is gonna frame me for hitting him or push himself down the stairs. Despite my internal calculations, I maintained a gentle smile. Lead the way, little brother. Hearing my tone, which sounded like I was ordering a servant, Julian immediately put on a pitiful face, looking at Evelyn as if my speaking to him that way was an unforgivable sin. Evelyn frowned. Carter, you are the older brother. How can you speak to your younger brother like that? I mentally cursed. Are you crazy? I speak how I want. But I wasn't going to argue with this drama king right now. In standard true-fake young master tropes, if I talked back, I'd definitely get scolded more, and Julian would reap all the sympathy points. Thinking of this, I decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. I bowed dramatically. Yes, it is all my fault, young Master Julian, please lead the way. This old servant does not know where the room is. Hearing me refer to myself as this old servant, the Lewis parents immediately felt deeply uncomfortable. By blood, I was their actual son. Calling myself an old servant made them feel like absolute villains. All right, enough, Richard Lewis spoke up, his tone softening a rare fraction. Julian, take your brother upstairs. Carter, you don't need to be so formal. This is your home after all. Sensing the non-negotiable tone in his father's voice, Julian knew playing the victim wouldn't work anymore. He obediently led me to the second floor. However, once upstairs, he didn't take me straight to my room. Instead, he started giving a grand tour of every room, especially his gaming room and private study. He was practically trying to carve the words, "I am the real master of this house," onto his forehead. Seeing he was about to show off his bedroom, I bluntly slammed the door shut, asserting dominance. Enough. Where's my room? I don't have time to play around with you. For this kind of person, the best way to crush them is to make them feel deeply embarrassed. His actions, in my eyes, were no different from a stray dog marking its territory on the street. You don't deserve to be back here. You should have rotted away in the slums. Seeing me actively tear off his mask, Julian dropped the act too. he revealed a look of utter disgust. I am the only true young master of this family. Are you an idiot? I just ask where my room is, I deadpanned. Just as he was about to bark back, a series of footsteps echoed from the stairs. He smirked. Let's see who the most important person in this house really is. Without hesitation, he raised his right hand, slapped himself hard across the face, and threw himself onto the floor. I was startled. Wow, this guy is ruthless to himself. Looking at the red handprint on his face, I crossed my arms and watched the show. A moment later, a figure rushed up the stairs. Julian, what's wrong? Seeing the actress was in position, Julian, lying on the floor, began his performance. Second sister, I'm fine. I know my brother hates me for taking over his life. If hitting me makes him feel better, he can hit me. It's all my fault. Please, brother, don't take your anger out on the family. Good heavens, if this guy doesn't go to Hollywood, it's a tragic loss for the film industry. While I was busy admiring his acting skills, Sarah, the second sister, stood up abruptly, glaring at me coldly. What gives you the right to hit people? Didn't your parents teach you any manners? Mom and Dad shouldn't have brought you back at all. Saying that, she stepped forward, raising her hand to slap me. Hey, hitting people is wrong, you know. I reached out and firmly gripped Sarah's wrist. The playful smile on my face vanished. What makes you so sure I hit him? If you guys want to play games, I'll play along. Being held tightly by me, Sarah was furious. Let go. It's only you and Julian here. Who else could it be? Because of the loud commotion, the people downstairs rushed up. Instantly, all eyes fell on Julian lying on the floor. Julian! Seeing the whole family gather, Julian ramped up the pitiful act. Dad, Mom, third sister Carter, why did you hit me? Seeing the slap mark on his face, the last shred of guilt in Evelyn's heart turned into complete disappointment. Don't jump to conclusions just yet, I said, letting go of Sarah's hand. I looked at Chloe, who was grinding her teeth. Third sister, you're a professional actress, right? Don't call me third sister, you violent thug, Chloe sneered. So what if I'm an actress? What does that have to do with you hitting Julian? I said, don't jump to conclusions. Ignoring her murderous glare, I spoke slowly. If you're an actress, you surely know that when a person slaps themselves, the thumb points towards the ear. But if someone else slaps them, the thumb points outwards. Instantly, all eyes subconsciously zoomed in on Julian's face. There's a saying, outsiders see clear, insiders are blind. After my pointer, their gazes towards Julian began to carry a hint of scrutiny. They suddenly realized that this might be the first time they were truly looking at this younger brother. Surprisingly, Sarah was still half kneeling on the floor, looking at Julian with worry. Oh, fudge! How does this country bumpkin know so much? Seeing the suspicious looks from everyone, Julian panicked and yelled, Brother, I know you hate me, but you can hit me, you can scold me. Why must you frame me? Wow, the green tea tears came fast. I have to admit, this move was super effective. Except for Chloe, a flash of guilt appeared in the other's eyes. All right. I interrupted Julian's magic casting. Not wanting to waste more time, I stepped forward and grabbed Chloe's hand. Take me to the security room. According to the novel's logic, when the MC demands to check the cameras, the fake young master's people would have definitely tampered with the footage. So, I had to be fast. Chloe thought for a moment and nodded. Fine, I'll go with you. After I pointed out the thumb logic, she started to have doubts. If I was the culprit, I definitely wouldn't dare ask for the security footage. No matter what, cameras provide the most solid proof. If it's convenient, everyone should come watch, I said, looking at the people around me. My dear loving family, don't tell me you're too scared to look at the footage. Fine, let's go together, Richard said in a deep voice. Julian, you come too. If you are innocent, Dad will get justice for you. Hearing that everyone was going to check the cameras, Julian trembled uncontrollably. He was just about to contact his inside man to manipulate the video. But who knew this country bumpkin wouldn't follow the script? However, he quickly hatched another plan. He pretended to stand up, then dramatically collapsed onto the floor, fainting. Julian, seeing him fall, the people who had just turned around stopped in their tracks. Sarah instantly yelled at me, You definitely hit him so hard he fainted. Fainted at the perfect time, huh? Ignoring her yelling, I decided to drop some more educational facts. Try feeling the flesh under his chin. If the muscles are soft, he's really fainted. If you're lazy, just blow some air into his eyes. When a person is truly just unconscious, their eyes won't twitch even if you blow into them. Hearing my words, everyone looked at Julian again. Julian's heart hammered against his ribs. Why the heck does this bumpkin know so much? Noticing a servant trying to slip away, I called out, "Hey, hold on. If you guys are so worried, just call a doctor over. I'm afraid if we go to the security room too late, the cameras might miraculously malfunction." Hearing this, Evelyn frowned subconsciously. "Are you suspecting that we would frame you?" "I just got here. Gotta be careful," I replied, grabbing both Evelyn's and Chloe's hands, walking towards the servant who had tried to sneak off. "If Mom is suspicious too, let's go see for ourselves." One Chloe wasn't enough weight. Dragging the mother along guaranteed nobody would mess with the footage. Seeing his wife and daughter being dragged away, Richard followed suit, afraid I might suddenly turn violent. Only Sarah was left behind, making a frantic phone call, alongside the fainted Julian. Guided by Chloe, we arrived at the security room. From afar, I saw a figure about to push the door open. "Oh? Isn't that the buddy who was just at the crime scene? What are you doing at the security room?" Seeing our group suddenly appear, the servant swallowed hard, stammering, "Master, madam, young master, miss." Seeing him stutter, the 3 Lewis family members exchanged shocked glances. "Stand right there!" Richard glared at the servant and strode into the security room. "Pull up the footage for the second floor, from 12 p.m. onwards." Seeing the master furious, the security staff didn't dare delay, and quickly scrubbed the video. Looking at the video starting from 7 p.m., I sat down on a chair. Just fast forward to 12:15. Of course, if they wanted to watch Julian's top-tier solo performance, watching from the beginning was fine too. Even if the video was tampered with, I had other methods. What I was thinking was that, according to the novel's tropes, since Julian fainted, he would definitely pull out some fake medical record later. No need to fast forward. Due to that suspicious servant, Evelyn, who had always favored Julian, was now highly skeptical. She wanted to see what my top-tier operation was all about. As the footage played, everyone's expressions grew increasingly bizarre. From Julian leading me in circles around the house, bragging in front of his private rooms, acting like the master while fearing I'd steal his power. They could somewhat understand that, but the conversation that followed completely shattered Julian's image of a good, obedient boy in their hearts. And then, the grand finale. Him slapping himself and diving to the floor, captured in crisp HD. With these events unfolding, the 3 of them no longer believed Julian had truly fainted. "My dear loving family, so that's the truth," I joked with Chloe as the video ended. "Third sister, see that? That's what you call getting into character in 1 second. You should take notes." Even though I said that, I was mentally prepared to call the cops. In novels, even with hard evidence, the family usually still blindly defends the fake son. But to my surprise, Chloe nodded in agreement. "You're right. I definitely need to learn from that. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you." Beside her, Evelyn grabbed my hand full of guilt. "Carter, Mom is so sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you." As for Richard, though he didn't speak, the guilt in his eyes didn't escape me. What the heck is this? Looking at the 3 of them suddenly waking up to reality, I was confused. According to the plot, shouldn't they be biased towards the Pacific Ocean right now? All right. Can you just show me to my room now?" I gently patted Evelyn's hand, signaling I was fine, then pointed at Chloe, who was smiling. Even though third sister isn't heavy, dragging her all the way here was exhausting. Their change of heart benefited me, so I didn't dwell on the drama. If Julian dared to pull more tricks like today, I'd show him what a critical hit really looked like. Yes, Mom will take you right now." Evelyn turned to the servant. "Bring the young master's luggage to his room." As for Richard, now that the truth was out, he simply said, "All right, let's go." As the head of the family, he couldn't immediately bow his head and apologize like the women, but in his heart, he was already planning compensation. Through this, he realized Julian was, after all, just Julian. The story of the farmer and the viper is real. Some people just can't be warmed up. Just as we were about to leave, a servant ran over breathlessly. "Master, madam, the doctor is here, but young Master Julian still hasn't woken up. Second, Miss asked me to call you all over." "Then let's go take a look." Richard's face darkened, his voice gloomy. He hadn't even gone to find Julian to settle the score, yet the kid was jumping out again. Let's see what trick he was playing now. Watching the servant lead the way, I turned to Chloe, who looked deep in thought, and initiated a conversation. "Hey third sister, wanna make a bet?" Among the 3 present, Chloe was the only one in my generation, making her the perfect target for a bet. "A bet?" Seeing my eyes crinkled in a smile, she asked curiously, "What do you want to bet?" Having dropped her initial prejudice, Chloe was starting to find this younger brother fascinating. Compared to Julian's two-faced nature, my straightforwardness was refreshing. Hearing our conversation, Richard and Evelyn silently perked up their ears. They wanted to see what this son was up to. It's simple. After agreeing on the terms, the group arrived at Julian's room. Julian was lying perfectly still on the bed, unconscious. Next to him was a female doctor, around 25 or 26 years old. I'd rate her looks a solid 90/100, exuding a gentle aura. Unsurprisingly, this was the Lewis family's private doctor. If I guessed right, with those looks and aura, she was definitely the gentle female supporting character in the novel. But to confirm, I had to wait for her diagnosis. Before the doctor could speak, Sarah, who was anxiously hovering over Julian, snapped at me. "Dad, why did you let him come here? If it weren't for him, Julian wouldn't be in this state." Still stubbornly believing I was at fault, the second sister made Richard frown slightly. "He's your brother too, and how is Julian's condition?" "Mr. Lewis, young Master Julian's condition is not good," the doctor, Dr. Stella, replied immediately. "Based on my assessment, due to excessive anxiety, combined with blunt force trauma to the cheek, he has suffered a mild concussion. These two factors caused a lack of blood flow to the brain, leading to fainting." Exactly as I predicted. Right on the money. Instantly, all eyes turned to me, standing next to Chloe. The expressions of the three Lewis family members turned incredibly ugly. Why? Because the bet I just proposed was exactly what the doctor's diagnosis would be. I had predicted she would use excessive anxiety, mood swings, and cheek trauma, leading to a concussion as an excuse. Conditions that cannot be verified without medical equipment. "You must be the newly returned young master." Seeing my relaxed demeanor, Dr. Stella pushed up her glasses and said seriously, "I didn't expect you to know so much, being the same age as young Master Julian. I just learned a few tricks from the village vet, nothing much." Blocked by my sarcastic reply, Dr. Stella continued respectfully but firmly, "Then please do not doubt my professionalism. After all, I graduated from a top-tier medical academy." Though her words were polite, her tone carried a hint of disdain. She's definitely Julian's accomplice. Having confirmed this, I decided to go on the offensive. If Julian got away with this fainting stunt, there would be endless trouble later. My own biological second sister was looking at me like she wanted to murder me. For crying out loud. "Oh, you're that amazing?" I grinned. "But the village vet taught me a trick. It just so happens to be used to check if a patient genuinely fainted from anxiety." Saying that, I grabbed a feather from a servant's feather duster. "As a top medical graduate, I'm sure you won't mind if I try to wake up my dear little brother Julian." Seeing me approach Julian, Sarah tried to rush forward to stop me, but Chloe held her back. Dr. Stella also wanted to intervene, but Richard's piercing glare rooted her to the spot. So, I easily reached Julian's bed and yanked the blanket off his feet. "Little brother, time to wash your feet." Because he was so nervous, Julian's body was covered in cold sweat. Wrapped tightly in socks and blankets, his foot odor had fermented into something deeply pungent. Hearing my disgustingly cheerful tone, Julian almost lost his mind. He could already imagine the disgusted looks from the family. Before he could mentally curse me out, I began tickling the sole of his foot with the feather. Julian felt like a colony of ants was marching under his skin. He almost screamed. But he knew he couldn't break character, or he'd be doomed. He used every ounce of willpower to tense his muscles, grinding his teeth to remain silent. "All done, Mom. Come here." Having had enough fun, I winked at Evelyn. "Do you remember the fun fact I told you earlier? I wasn't holding back for his sake. The smell was just too overpowering. I had to hold my nose. If his feet marinated any longer, even a professional pedicurist would cry." Evelyn nodded slightly, walked up to Julian, and braved the lethal stench. She touched his bicep, feeling the rock-hard, tense muscles. Completely unnatural for an unconscious person, her face turned dark. She nodded at Richard. Everyone knows that when a person genuinely faints, their muscles go completely limp. But Julian, to stop himself from laughing, had tensed his entire body. Evelyn noticed the difference the moment she touched him. With his wife's confirmation, Richard's face grew thunderous. "Julian, how much longer are you going to fake this? I'll give you 3 seconds. If you don't get up, don't blame me for kicking you out of this house." Hearing this, Julian panicked. But if he got up now, everything would be ruined. He bit his lip and resolved to play dead to the end. "Dad, what are you saying?" Sarah, still out of the loop, glared at me. "And you, put that feather down." She stepped forward to snatch it. I effortlessly dodged to the side, and in doing so, the feather accidentally brushed right under Julian's nose. The pungent foot odor, combined with his extreme mental tension, was the final straw. Julian couldn't take it anymore. He actually fainted from the smell. This unexpected turn of events made everyone stare at Julian in shock. Even Sarah, who had just tried to grab the feather, widened her eyes in disbelief. Is this what a mild concussion looks like? Seeing the situation going south, Dr. Stella hurriedly tried to divert attention. Young Master Carter, you've gone too far. How could you be so heavy-handed? But she didn't realize that, except for Sarah, everyone else in the room looked at her in agreement. Julian is exposed. Why is she still pushing this narrative? Richard, Evelyn, and Chloe thought. Just as our son said, these two definitely have something shady going on. What a pig teammate. I secretly rejoiced and pulled out my phone, opening the map app in front of everyone. If Dr. Stella is so sure Julian has a concussion, let's take him to the hospital for a checkup. I see there's a top-tier hospital just 3 kilometers away. Perfect driving distance. Even though Julian's solo act had ruined his image in the family's eyes, I knew the true fake young master trope. If I didn't completely crush him now, he'd be back to causing trouble in a few days. Now that the 3 family members knew the truth but hadn't exposed him yet, they probably wanted to see what he'd do next. As for Dr. Stella, if she stayed, who knew what chaos she'd cause? So this time, I had to kick this biased doctor out of the house. Seeing me ignore the script and demand a hospital visit, both Julian, who had just regained a bit of consciousness, and the usually calm Dr. Stella panicked. They knew exactly what was wrong with Julian. The concussion and anxiety were completely fake. If they went to a real hospital, the lie would be exposed. Once the truth came out, Dr. Stella would be implicated too. Mom, Dad. Unable to hide his fear, Julian, with tears in his eyes, said weakly, "It's late. You don't need to work so hard running around. Having Dr. Stella here is enough." He originally planned to kneel and beg for forgiveness, but seeing the servant, who altered the video, nod at him, he changed his mind and decided to keep acting. This approach made him look considerate, and gave him the excuse of, "I didn't know what was wrong with me either." After all, he wasn't a doctor. How could he know what was happening inside his body? But he overlooked one thing. Why was I, the guy who was supposed to be punished because of the video, standing here safe and sound, ordering him to the hospital? Every man for himself, I thought. Have a safe trip, buddy. Noticing Julian's shifting attitude, the 3 Lewis family members subtly glanced at that servant. Their minds were made up. A concussion is no small matter. We should still go to the hospital, Evelyn said, stepping forward to pull Julian's blanket off. She spoke firmly. Get downstairs right now. We are taking you. She wanted to see how long this adopted son would keep acting. If her husband hadn't signaled the servant to play along, she might never have seen his true colors. Really, there's no need to trouble yourselves. Despite wanting to agree instantly, Julian maintained his caring for the family facade. Julian, just go to the hospital, Sarah chimed in. She was the only one still in the dark and believed in him. It will prove your innocence. In her eyes, he just didn't want the family to be tired and ruin the harmony. Haha, truly my good second sister, Julian thought smugly. He intentionally looked conflicted. Well, let's just not go tonight. He was waiting for the family to dump all their anger on me before reluctantly agreeing to go. Second sister might be a bit dumb, but these 2 assists were perfect. Seeing Julian's smug look, I had to suppress a smirk. Before getting in the car, I had one more gift for him. The only person truly sweating bullets right now was Dr. Stella. If the fake medical record was exposed, and Richard blacklisted her, her career in this city was over. Thinking of this, she quickly interjected, "If we are going for a checkup, let me drive everyone to Grand C Premium Hospital. The equipment there is more advanced, the results will be more accurate." "No need, Dr. Stella. Who knows if you secretly own that hospital?" With one sentence, I cut off her escape route. I held up my phone, ending a call. "Hello? Yes. We will bring the patient down immediately." Hanging up, I turned to the crowd. "The ambulance is waiting downstairs. Let's get little brother Julian moving." Really? There's no need to go through all this trouble. Hearing the ambulance was already here, Julian bit his lip, looking at me with teary eyes. Though he didn't speak, his expression clearly screamed, "Even though you beat me, I don't want to get you in trouble." No trouble at all. Just a small matter." I smiled brightly, turning my phone screen around to play a certain video. "Actually, I also really wanted to know how you managed to give yourself a concussion." The moment the video played, Julian's face went dead white. His heart hammered wildly. Before this video appeared, even if the medical check showed nothing wrong, he could make excuses. But now, the video was right there. Coupled with a clean bill of health, the narrative would completely flip. Realizing this, his pitiful act shattered. He panicked. "No need for a checkup. I'm fine." "Oh, too late, little brother," I signaled the staff. "Someone! Escort him down to the ambulance." Hearing this, and seeing Richard making no move to stop them, several burly servants dragged the frantically struggling Julian downstairs. Blind. I was truly blind. Watching Julian thrash around like a maniac, Richard shot a dark look at Dr. Stella, then turned and left the room. "Well, show's over. I'm going back to my room!" Seeing everything was settled, I waved at Chloe with a grin and followed a servant to my quarters. After unpacking, it would be time to collect on my bet with the family. As I walked to my room, Chloe pulled Sarah toward the security room. She felt she needed to explain things to her sister properly. "Oh, I wasn't put in a basement or a cramped utility room." Led by the servant, I arrived at my room. I placed my suitcase down. Compared to the usual true young master who gets shoved into a basement or under the stairs, my treatment was top tier. The room had a PC setup, a walk-in closet, a private bathroom, and a massive king-size bed. Overall, it was a perfectly normal, flawless room for a guy my age. I didn't expect my biological parents and sisters to flip their attitudes so quickly. Laying back on the bed, I dragged out the system that I'd been ignoring all evening. Let's confirm this again. I just need to be present at locations where plot events involving me happen, right? Correct. Faced with a host who was born with a rebel bone, the system felt powerless. When I was dismantling Julian earlier, it almost pressed the emergency alarm. Luckily, my actions didn't violate any of its 10,086 rules. Otherwise, it would have used its power to stop me. Thinking about my top-tier operations, the system had a headache, but still followed protocol to distribute the reward. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the Acknowledge the Lewis family in Jongnon tasks, and officially moving into the Lewis estate. Reward: Master Level Mixed Martial Arts Skills. The moment the notification chimed, my head felt itchy. Good lord, am I growing a second brain? In a split second, my mind was flooded with vast knowledge of MMA, traditional martial arts, Sanda, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Bajikwan, and even the legendary Electric 5 Whip Strike. You actually gave me martial arts skills? Feeling my body, which felt exactly the same as before. No, wait, exactly the same. I curled my lip. Luckily, I exercised regularly, so I could physically execute most of these moves. After digesting the sudden influx of memories, I stuffed some clothes into the closet and walked out with my suitcase. "Carter, where are you going?" Just as I carried my suitcase to the ground floor living room, I bumped into Chloe and Sarah coming out of the security room. "Couldn't find your room? Let me show you," Sarah offered. "No, I'm heading back to my old place for a bit." I shook my head at Chloe. "Going out again? Does our bet still count?" "Of course it does." Hearing the bet mentioned, Chloe instantly caught on. "Let me drive you. It's hard to get a cab right now. We'll take my car. It only seats 2. Suddenly, Sarah chimed in. "Me too, and I'm sorry I misunderstood you." "No worries, we're family. Don't sweat the small stuff." Seeing Sarah lower her head as if wanting to bury it in Mount Everest, I waved it off with a smile. The truth is out. Let it go. Though a bit surprised the family realized their mistakes so quickly, I wasn't going to pull a dragon arrogance ego trip. Having more supporters made my slacker life here much easier. Carter, seeing how easily I forgave her, Sarah looked surprised, then deeply moved. Once, when she made Julian slightly upset, she had to spend months of her salary and allowance just to coax him. The contrast was night and day. Plus, looking back, was it really wrong for her to stop Julian from entering her room while she was changing? Stripping away her prejudices, Sarah, like the rest of the Lewis family, started growing a brain. "Can we go now?" Seeing Sarah's sparkling eyes, I was a bit confused. Was this girl just really naive? I hadn't even done anything, and she looked ready to follow me to the ends of the earth. "Let's go! I'll help you with your suitcase." Sarah grabbed my luggage and linked her arm with mine, walking toward the door. It wasn't until we were halfway down the path that Chloe, who had been left behind, finally reacted. "Hey! I just acknowledged my awesome new brother. How did you steal him away? I was the one who kindly told you the truth, and you dare steal my brother?" "Carter, wait for me," she shouted, sprinting after us. No matter what, she wasn't going to let Sarah monopolize their brother. Over an hour later, at a small fish stall in a rundown neighborhood, Old Arthur! Old Arthur! Your boy has hit the jackpot!" Just as Old Arthur was worrying if Carter was adjusting well to his new home, a frantic voice pulled him back to reality. Looking at the panting middle-aged woman, he asked urgently, "Mrs. Barnes, what happened to my Carter? Your boy brought home 2 gorgeous girls." After catching her breath, Mrs. Barnes said happily, We've known each other for years, so when the time comes, tell Carter to introduce the other girl to me. As the neighborhood's famous matchmaker, how could she not be moved by two beautiful girls? If their car wasn't so ridiculously expensive, she would have asked them directly. Hearing about the two girls, old Arthur got a headache. This kid? Picked up in the morning, and by the afternoon he's turned into a playboy! Thinking of this, he silently unbuckled his divine weapon, the 7-star leather belt. Today, he was going to teach this kid the meaning of loyalty. Meanwhile, I had no idea about the incoming fatherly love. I was helplessly looking at my two sisters, who were standing hesitantly at the entrance of the fish market. You two wait here, I said. There aren't many people at this hour, but they don't exactly clean up well during closing time. Though it wasn't unwalkable, these two pampered misses had never stepped foot in a place like this. The floor was sticky with fish scales, scattered organs, dropped shrimp, and puddles of water. Combined with the summer heat, the air was fragrant. Looking at the messy environment, Sarah felt a pang of heartache. My brother lived in conditions like this, and I actually thought about kicking him out today. Chloe, being an actress, was a bit more adaptable, but even she was shocked. Movie sets were nothing like this reality. The smell of rotting seafood in the air was something she had never experienced. No need, let's go in together. Suppressing her discomfort, Sarah shook her head stubbornly. If her brother lived here for years, walking through it once was nothing. Let's go together, Chloe agreed. We should visit Uncle anyway. Alright, if you don't mind. Seeing they insisted, I led them through a few winding alleys to the old fish stall. Before I could even speak, a furious roar erupted from inside. You little punk! I haven't seen you for one afternoon, and you've already become degenerate? If I don't teach you a lesson today, I'll take your last name. Seeing old Arthur charging at me with the 7-star belt, I quickly dodged. Don't, old man! Even if you don't teach me a lesson, I already have your last name. Still talking back? Old Arthur roared. Let's see how much of a playboy you are when you're still wet behind the ears. I'm not a playboy. I'm innocent, I cried out. Don't you know me? I'm more innocent than Snow White. Ah, darn it! Eat my electric 5-whip strike! 10 minutes later, in the room above the fish stall, old man, couldn't you have listened to my explanation first? Rubbing my butt, which felt like it had shattered into 8 pieces, I glared resentfully at old Arthur, who was calmly sipping tea. I kindly came back to pick you up, and you immediately hit me with an electric 5-whip combo. Who told you not to explain properly from the start? Ignoring my resentful glare, old Arthur looked at the two girls sitting quietly. This kid didn't cause you two any trouble, did he? Through my explanation during the beating, he now understood the situation and knew these were my biological sisters. Carter is very well behaved. Remembering my verbal spar with Julian, Chloe mentally added, well behaved when he's not against my enemies. Sarah didn't know what to say, so she just nodded in agreement. Don't you know me? Rubbing my butt and standing up, I dropped the joking demeanor and asked seriously, are you really not going to come live with me? This was the bet I had with the Lewis family, to bring old Arthur to live near us. Though Richard requested he not live in the main villa, he promised to buy a small house nearby with servants. As long as old Arthur agreed, he could enjoy an early retirement. I'm used to it here. Old Arthur waved his hand and stood up to go downstairs. I'm stepping out for a bit. Don't make your sisters wait long. He knew this was my filial piety, but like any father, he didn't want to be a burden to his son. This stubborn old mule. Watching his back, I sighed, and placed a sleek black bank card on the table. Evelyn had given me this before I left, saying it had $5 million for pocket money, but old Arthur never spent the money I earned, saying it was my blood, sweat, and tears. This was why, even though we had achieved financial freedom, he still insisted on running the fish stall. Partly because he missed his neighbors, and partly to save up more for my future. But this card was essentially selling my body to the Lewis family. He couldn't say it was my hard-earned sweat anymore, right? If he didn't take it, fine. I could always come back to visit, as long as I wasn't stuck here forever. System, I have opinions on you slacking off. Are you listening? I ignored the system. Seeing me put the card down, Sarah realized she was starting to understand this brother a little more. How can I just leave empty-handed? I grinned at Sarah, pulling my suitcase to the fridge. I proceeded to stuff all the snacks. Old Arthur hid for his late-night cravings into my bag. As I packed, I muttered, this old geezer greets me with a belt. Let's see how he likes it when I clean out his stash. Chloe didn't approve of me taking the snacks, but she didn't stop me. remembering how I used to snatch unhealthy food out of old Arthur's mouth, nagging him to eat less. A smart girl like her instantly understood my intention. This tsundere style of caring is actually quite cute. Sarah, being a bit more naive, didn't think that deeply. She just thought her straightforward brother was endearingly quirky. 10 minutes later, in the car heading back, "Why are you wearing my clothes and using my stuff? You wanted a thrill, didn't you? You absolute scumbag." Watching the distorted, dramatic faces on my phone screen playing a classic soap opera, The Temptation of the Returnee, Chloe angrily punched my seat. "Scumbags, sees a pretty face and loses his mind. Don't let me catch him in the market. Calm down, it's just a TV show." I quietly pulled my phone away, afraid an enraged Chloe might chuck it out the window. "Hey sis, aren't you in the entertainment industry? How come it feels like you've never seen a script like this?" Faced with my question, Chloe scratched her head, looking a bit embarrassed. "Well, Mom and Dad don't let me take villain roles, and we rarely watch these types of dramas at home." In that moment, she felt her majesty as an older sister was being challenged, even though she had absolutely zero majesty in front of me anyway. I see. I didn't find her answer weird. According to the true-fake young master trope, these sisters were destined to become Julian's devoted followers anyway, and in those stories, the protagonist women are usually and sheltered before being conquered. "No problem. Whenever you want to watch stuff like this, just tell me. I have a whole library of these dramatic soap operas." Chloe nodded excitedly. "Awesome, I'm really interested in these plots." She felt like a door to a new world had opened. The more she watched, the more Julian reminded her of the manipulative villains in the show. The same green tea, play the victim routine. "You two are being too much." Sarah, who was driving, yelled in frustration. "Why couldn't you wait until we got home to watch it together?" If she knew, she wouldn't have volunteered to drive. Now she could only hear the audio and not see the drama. She was dying of curiosity. What does the villain look like in that dress? The urge to know the truth was killing her. "Don't! Drive carefully!" Chloe and I shouted in unison. "What? You two are bullying me!" Glancing in the rearview mirror at our heads huddled together, Sarah thought, "If you're unkind, don't blame me for being unrighteous. Witness my ultimate overtaking skills." "Ah!" Chloe and I screamed as the car swerved wildly. Meanwhile, in the living room of the Lewis family, Julian, having just returned from the hospital, was kneeling on the floor. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at the Lewis parents. "Mom, Dad, I didn't mean it. I was just afraid that when Brother Carter came back, you wouldn't want me anymore. Please give me one more chance. I'll get along with him." Watching Julian cry pathetically, Evelyn rubbed her temples, feeling a headache coming on. After all, he was an adopted son she had raised for over a decade. It was hard to just kick him out immediately. Richard, on the other hand, casually sipped tea and read his newspaper. Unlike his emotional wife, he saw things clearly. The Lewis family didn't lack the money to raise Julian, but they wouldn't harbor a master of disguise Venice's snake either. If Julian hadn't exposed his true nature today, Richard wouldn't have minded keeping him. But now, as long as Evelyn made the call, he'd have someone throw him out instantly. "Mom, please give me a chance." Sensing Evelyn's hesitation and Richard's coldness, Julian focused all his energy on her. He knew his only ticket to staying was to soften her heart. Just as Evelyn was about to speak, 3 loud voices echoed from outside. Chloe's voice rang out, "That guy is a total scumbag. Her revenge later is completely justified." Sarah chimed in, "Exactly. This is the ultimate Harris returns for revenge plot," I replied. "You can talk all you want, just stop sitting so close to me." "If we don't sit close, how can we see the screen?" The 3 of us noisily entered the living room. Seeing the scene before us, "Holy fudge! Why are second and third sisters so close to that country bumpkin?" Julian screamed internally, but an idea flashed in his mind. He crawled over, grabbing my arm and wailing, "Brother, I was wrong. I shouldn't have framed you. Have pity on me. Don't kick me out." If I said no, I would look selfish and cold-hearted. He had lowered himself so much. If I still refused, it might spark sympathy from the others and increase his chances of staying. If I agreed, well, he got to stay. Thinking of his brilliant plan, he gripped my arm tighter. "No way." I smoothly kicked Julian's right shin, and as he lost his balance, I executed a flawless shoulder throw, slamming him onto the marble floor. Bam! The fall nearly broke Julian's back. His agonizing scream instantly triggered the last remnants of Evelyn's maternal love. After all, she raised him. Seeing him beaten in front of her pained her. But before she could speak, I beat her to it. "Do I look like I enjoy being abused?" I rolled up my sleeve, glaring in annoyance at Julian writhing on the floor. Why should I forgive a liar who intentionally hurts me while apologizing? On my pale forearm, 10 crescent-shaped fingernail marks, red and turning purple, were starkly visible. If left any longer, they would definitely swell. I wasn't some pushover true young master. Why would I let him off easily? If using too much force didn't risk violating the system's 10,086 rules, I would have given him a much more surprising ending. You have truly disappointed me. Seeing the 10 nail marks on my arm, Evelyn rushed over, holding my arm in distress. She couldn't believe this adopted son was still playing dirty tricks at a time like this. Just a moment ago, she felt pity. Now, she felt utterly foolish. Seeing Evelyn's disappointment, Julian ignored the pain and frantically explained, "Mom, I didn't mean to. I was just agitated." Having lived here for over a decade, he knew who held the ultimate power. Richard might look like the boss, but on family matters, he listened to Evelyn 90% of the time. It doesn't matter anymore. Evelyn shook her head in utter disappointment, looking at Julian on the floor, and delivered her verdict. "Carter is back. Julian, you should go back and visit your biological father." Hearing this, Julian felt like he was struck by lightning. He slumped to the floor like a fish out of water. He didn't want to go back to that reeking fish stall. He was a young master of the Lewis family. How could he live in a place like that? If he left, would he ever have a chance to return? He hurriedly crawled to Evelyn, sobbing, "Mom, I grew up by your side. You are my closest family. As for my biological father, I will find time to visit him and care for him in his old age. But I don't want to leave you. Plus, school starts soon. Moving there will affect my studies." "Second sister, third sister, listen to this," I interrupted before he could play the full sympathy card. "Isn't this exactly like when that villain got defeated, refused to go back to her old life, and shamelessly clung to the rich guy?" Hearing this, Chloe and Sarah looked at Julian with intense scrutiny. Just a moment ago, they were slightly moved by him, but with my reminder, it clicked. Translated, Julian's words meant, "I'm used to the rich life. I don't want to go back to that poor dump." Plus, after seeing my interaction with old Arthur, Julian looked like nothing more than a gold-digging snob. "You have one night to pack your things." Evelyn brushed off Julian's hands from her skirt. "Tomorrow, I'll have Butler William take you back." In that moment, she felt like a total failure. All these years, and she raised a child like this? "Mom, no!" Before Julian could continue, Evelyn waved her hand. "Take the young master back to his room to pack." Immediately, 2 burly maids, looking like the twin demons of the Black Wind, hauled Julian upstairs. Watching Julian wiggle like a worm, I timed my interruption perfectly. "Wait, could you not send him back there?" All eyes turned to me. Even Julian, wiggling like a grub, showed a glimmer of hope. He swore if he got to stay, after he murdered me, he'd be merciful and not feed my ashes to the dogs. But my next words crushed him. "Can you send him somewhere else? Old Arthur's health isn't great. I'm afraid this guy will just ruin his mood and shorten his lifespan by 10 years. Send him to the apartment in White Ginkgo Estate. Because of the bet, Evelyn knew old Arthur's place in my heart. She pulled me out of the living room to treat my arm. Seeing me dragged away, Chloe and Sarah followed. Ever since Julian's perfect young master filter shattered, they couldn't stand looking at him. "All right, take him up to pack." Richard gave the final order and left the room. "No, this isn't real!" Dragged into his room by the maids, Julian gritted his teeth, listening to the whispers outside. A venomous light flashed in his eyes. He wasn't resigned to this. Why was he kicked out like a stray dog the moment that guy arrived? Wait! Suddenly, he remembered something crucial and quickly pulled out his phone to message a few people. While Julian was making his last struggles, the system watched me being surrounded by love and doubted if it got the wrong script. Shouldn't the family be doting on Julian while the MC licks his wounds in a cramped basement right now? Looking at the unreleased tasks, the system gritted its theoretical teeth and issued a new one. "Ouch, ouch, too painful. Is this your first time?" I cried out in my head. He's exactly like that returning villain. In the private home theater on the second floor of the Lewis Villa, Sarah, Chloe, and I were lounging on plush sofas. Our feet were soaking in wooden tubs filled with nerve-relaxing herbs prepared by Butler William. So comfortable. Why didn't we think of this before? Sarah, completely losing her cold goddess image, now looked like a female version of a relaxed old uncle. Besides occasionally reaching out to steal my snacks, she only moved her toes. I know, right? Feels like the last 20-something years were wasted. Chloe nodded in agreement. I just want to lie here and rot. As heiresses, they had never experienced this kind of footbath parlor-style soaking. "Can't you guys grab your own snacks?" Watching them polish off the last 2 spicy sausages, I twitched my lips in annoyance. I seriously suspected the system bound me to the wrong people. These 2 didn't look like cold, aloof heiresses devoted to the fake brother at all. They were just 2 female hooligans. From refusing to take a bite initially to not being able to stop, the spicy snacks truly proved that all beings are equal. "Carter, you're closest to the food!" Chloe smiled shamelessly, holding out her pale hand. "One more pack, sweet and spicy." Sarah, a bit more reserved, mumbled, "I want the super spicy one." Looking at the thick-skinned Chloe and the slightly shy Sarah, I was speechless. Sure, it was fun, but how did I become a snack dispensing machine? Still, they treated me well. Nothing like the evil sisters in the novel. Just as I was about to hand them the snacks, the theater doors suddenly opened. The hallway light spilled in, dimming the screen slightly. The 3 of us looked toward the door. Julian stood there, looking incredulous. He couldn't accept that the 3 of us were so close. "Second sister, third sister, what are you doing?" Still thinking he could salvage things, Julian forced a smile. "I looked everywhere for you 2. He couldn't understand how, in less than a day, I had managed to turn his previously loving sisters against him. Foot-soaking and watching soap operas. Compared to Chloe's bluntness, Sarah was more hesitant to sever a decade of affection, so she answered, "Have you packed? What are you doing here?" Chloe took the spicy sausage from my hand and said indifferently, "Can't you see your brother is here?" As the first one to wake up to reality, Chloe had the most drastic attitude change. Maybe because she was an actress, after watching so many green tea characters on screen, she constantly associated Julian with them, growing more disgusted by the minute. I'm sorry." Seeing Chloe's coldness, Julian instantly played the victim, hoping to get their attention. Unfortunately, Chloe just glanced at him and went back to watching the TV villain get wrecked. No need to apologize. Noticing the unwillingness in Julian's eyes, I smiled brightly. "If you haven't finished packing, get to it. It'd be annoying if you forgot something tomorrow. Oh, and close the door. The light is glaring." Since I couldn't hit him too hard right now, I had to use other methods. Saying that, I ignored him and continued watching the movie. Damn it! Seeing the sisters ignoring him, Julian panicked. Even though he had called for backup, this was still the Lewis house. If no one wanted to keep him, backup was useless. "Julian, go out." Sarah finally spoke up. "The light is ruining the movie." Seeing all 3 of them dismiss him, Julian glared at me angrily, left the theater, and slammed the door. Bang! Hearing the door slam, Chloe and I exchanged a knowing shrug. Sarah, too engrossed in the movie, almost shoved a spicy sausage up her nose. A while later, just as the movie reached its climax, a knock came at the door. "Second miss, third miss, young master, sorry to intrude." Butler William stood there, mentally taking note of the movie title on the screen. "Miss Coldwell has arrived." Madam asked the young master to come downstairs. He had heard the movie from outside and figured it would be a good watch for him and Mrs. Wu in their free time. Hearing Miss Coldwell, Sarah and Chloe frowned. A bad premonition. "So Serena Coldwell is my fiancée, right?" After Chloe explained, I understood their reaction. In the classic trope, the fiancé usually spouts something like, "I will only marry Julian in this lifetime." Right on cue, the system notification rang, confirming speculation. Mission: meet fiancée Serena Coldwell. After being rejected in front of everyone, cry pathetically. Reward: advanced culinary skills. Reading the mission, my eyes sparkled. Cry pathetically is a very broad term. It gave me a lot of room to operate. System: why do I feel a chill down my spine? That's right, little brother. This engagement was set by the older generation before you were even born. Nearing the living room, Sarah tugged my sleeve nervously. "If anything happens later, don't speak. Let us handle it, okay?" She didn't want me to suffer. Since this involved the older generation, she wanted to resolve it peacefully. "Don't worry, second sister, I'll handle this myself." I flatly refused. If I let someone else handle it, how could I execute my plan? Let him do it. Chloe pulled Sarah's sleeve, giving me an encouraging look. She wanted to see what surprises this brother had in store. If I couldn't handle it, she wouldn't just stand by anyway. "Don't worry, I got this." We reached the top of the stairs. From there, we could hear Julian and a girl talking. "Julian, Serena, I'm fine, let it go." "Serena, don't worry, I will get justice for you." Hearing this cheesy dialogue, I turned to my sisters and joked, the bossy female CEO and her fragile little house husband. The joke was so on point that both sisters couldn't help but laugh. The laughter drew the attention of everyone in the living room. Seeing us, Evelyn waved. "Carter, come here. This is Serena Coldwell, your fiancé by the arranged marriage. Auntie Evelyn, the one I am engaged to is Julian." The girl named Serena turned to us. "I assume this is the newly found young master. Let me be clear. I will not fulfill the engagement with you." Her blunt words were like a public slap to my face. The Lewis family members were about to interject, but I spoke first. "Miss Coldwell means you're refusing the engagement with me?" A mysterious smile played on my lips. As the fiancée in a true fake young master novel, Serena was naturally a proud daughter of heaven. She was gorgeous, delicate features, waist-length black hair, exuding an irresistible charm. Basically, a real head-turner. "Yes, I will not marry you." Though she didn't understand why I looked excited, she nodded coldly. "I'll be frank. You just got back and used underhanded tricks to kick Julian out. Your character is flawed. I, Serena Coldwell, will absolutely not be with someone lacking moral character." She glanced at the Lewis family, expecting to see guilt. Instead, she received looks that seemed to say, "Are you an idiot? Do you hear yourself?" Just as she was about to continue, I stepped forward, kicked the defenseless Julian away, grabbed her chin and shoved my phone into her face. "System, stop causing trouble." "What trouble? Isn't this crying pathetically? Did it say who had to cry?" "It didn't specify who," I replied to the system, decisively hitting play on the video. "Sorry, my character is so flawed." Seeing Serena's disbelief in Julian writhing on the floor, I let go of her chin and shrugged. "It just so happens I think there's something wrong with your brain too. Marrying me? Do you even deserve it?" I stepped back to create distance. "Since we both think we aren't a match, go tell your parents. A two-faced weasel and a gullible goose. May your love last forever. I don't have a fetish for wearing a green hat, being cuckolded, so cutting out this unstable element early is best. Besides, my operation completely fulfilled the mission requirements. Nothing wrong at all. As for canceling the engagement, it was her proposal, so having her parents compensate us a bit would be totally reasonable, right?" What is this?" Finishing the video, Serena was stunned. She turned to Julian on the floor. "This is completely different from what you told me on the phone." Julian had told her that I intentionally made things difficult for him and schemed to kick him out. Now, seeing my explanation, Julian cried genuine tears and snot flowing freely. He didn't expect me to bypass the script and just drop a nuclear bomb immediately. Weren't we supposed to have a back-and-forth argument? Seeing Julian's messy face crawling towards her, Serena, who was a bit of a germaphobe, subconsciously took a half-step back. But to Julian, that half-step meant everything. If there were background music right now, it would be playing a sad violin solo. Minor action, massive emotional damage. I mentally patted the system. "Look, someone is crying pathetically." While Julian desperately tried to explain things to Serena, I grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds from my pocket, shared them with my sisters, and watched the show. The system grumbled but, seeing that it fit the technical requirements of the mission, helplessly distributed the reward. My head felt itchy again. In a flash, the experience of a national banquet-level head chef entered my mind. As for muscle memory, let's not talk about it. This stingy system. After giving the reward, the system immediately requested higher authority. The fake young master is being completely outplayed. If I don't delete this video, how is that idiot supposed to compete? While the system was working hard, oh wait, including Evelyn, who appeared out of nowhere. The four of us finished our seeds. All right, Miss Coldwell has made her point. You can leave now. Put your seed shells in the other bag. I interrupted the two of them. We need to have dinner. As the heiress of the Coldwell family, surely you aren't going to stay and beg for a meal? Serena glared at me angrily, ignoring Julian's explanations, and stormed out of the Lewis house. She lost a lot of face today and had zero good feelings toward me. "Serena, don't go!" Watching her leave, Julian's heart turned ice cold. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to domineeringly cancel the engagement, and he would use his status as the future Coldwell son-in-law to stay. Now she was gone. What could he do? "Someone, go pack his room." Looking at the dejected Julian, Evelyn coldly ordered the servants, "Throw away whatever doesn't fit. Before the day ends, take him to the rental apartments." Originally, out of a decade of love, she was going to give him a large downtown apartment. But now, if it weren't for the fact that kicking him to the curb immediately after my return might harm the family's reputation, she wouldn't even give him a rental. "Mom, no!" "All right, put him in the car first." Evelyn waved her hand. "Take him away when his stuff is packed." "Yes, madam." Julian screamed. Let me go. Watching him being dragged away, Evelyn rubbed her temples. Carter, don't mind the Coldwell family. Mom will handle the engagement. Aside from the friendship between the two grandfathers, there were business ties. If Serena was adamant, Evelyn would prepare a backup plan. No need, this is fine. Seeing my mother act so decisively, I smiled, shrugged, and then turned serious. Also, Mom, are you worried the Coldwell family might affect our business over this? Since they were helping me out, I had to show some competence. A person can choose to slack off, but they can't just be a slacker. Affection is a tricky thing. It can last a lifetime or snap in a second. Especially in a melodramatic novel like this, I couldn't just say yes to everything. Now that Julian was kicked out, my next step was to peacefully coast through the plot events until the end, then return to my slacker life. You understand these things? Evelyn looked surprised, then asked curiously, tell me, what do you think? Though surprised, this wasn't a state secret, so she quickly calmed down. My opinion is simple. Seeing the three Lewis members looking thoughtful, I spoke frankly. Instead of going to the Coldwells to talk, why not use this chance to test their attitude? If we go to their door, we become the ones at fault and might have to pay a price. But if we wait, we lose nothing and we find out their true intentions. If they want to maintain the relationship, they will come to talk. If they don't, they probably already had intentions to cut ties with us. Then we can prepare early and find new partners. Of course, if Serena didn't tell her family, all these hypotheses were void. In my past life, I managed a massive corporation, so I had this level of business acumen. I just wanted to chill, not act like a clueless idiot. Hearing my explanation, Evelyn's eyes lit up. Brilliant, let's do exactly as you say. Because she put the Coldwell relationship first, she hadn't looked at the problem from an outside perspective. My analysis felt like an awakening. She also gained a new perspective on her long-lost son. Perhaps he wasn't as simple as he looked. Carter, how did you think of all this? Chloe looked at me weirdly. Now I'm suspecting there's some mysterious old ghost living in your body. How else do you know so much? Third sister, you watch too many movies. I rolled my eyes at her. Sarah hooked her arm around mine. Why can't it be that Carter just has a talent for business? Second sister and third sister, you guys guessed wrong this time. Muttering internally, I said calmly, it's all on Platinum News. You two should read it when you have time. Chloe and Sarah simultaneously thought, next time, I'll definitely read it. Read the news? No way, not in this lifetime. Seeing the three of us joking around, Evelyn smiled warmly. She used to worry the siblings wouldn't get along, but blood truly is thicker than water. Meanwhile, at the fish stall, quietly putting away the bank card, old Arthur smiled at his fridge, which was now cleaner than his pockets. His smile quickly vanished, and he shook his head helplessly. He pulled out his 7-star belt and muttered, looks like I need to practice the electric 5-whip strike more. Otherwise, next time that kid comes back, I won't be able to handle him. The next day, on the way to a private country club, Evelyn made me dress sharply. I sat obediently in the back, resting my eyes, but internally, I was unleashing a torrent of curses at the system. Why? Because all the videos of Julian slapping himself, from my phone to the Lewis family's hard drives, had mysteriously vanished. Only the system had the power to do this. System, I'm wearing headphones, I can't hear you. Hit me, idiot. While I argued with the system, the car pulled into the club. The grand welcoming ceremony my grandfather arranged was set for a month later. Evelyn brought me here today to introduce me to high society first. As for Sarah and Chloe, they were tasked with transferring my school records from the second high school to the elite first high school. Going up the elevator to the rooftop sky garden, several wealthy ladies approached us. Seeing me next to Evelyn, a blonde lady asked curiously, Evelyn, who is this? Usually she brought Julian. Bringing a new face today naturally sparked curiosity. I was just about to introduce him. Evelyn smiled, pulling me forward. This is Carter, my other son I mentioned before. Due to some circumstances, he lived outside. He just returned to the city. Revealing the swapped at birth story could harm the family's reputation, so they decided to hide it. Since they had intended to keep raising Julian anyway, Evelyn didn't expose his true identity, only claiming the family had 2 sons. Hello, aunties. After the introduction, I smiled politely. Oh, what a good boy. Evelyn, he looks exactly like you when you were young. I think he looks more like Richard. Look at those eyes. After some chatter, Evelyn started her spa session with her friends. I used the excuse of going downstairs to rest. 4 simple reasons. 1. I didn't need skincare at my age. 2. Their enthusiasm was suffocating. Just as I got downstairs planning to find some food and slack off, the system chimed. Ding! Detected a female lead nearby. Triggered mission. Help the female lead meet the fake young master. Reward. Mastery of musical instruments. This mission was the system's final test for me. If it had a physical body, it would have grabbed my collar and screamed, "Please, I'm begging you, just do the mission properly. Stop messing around. No wonder you keep following me." Reading the prompt, I stopped and headed in the direction the system indicated. Since I was free, I might as well have some fun. Literally, I had a lot of room to operate here. Unfortunately, the darn system refused to reveal the plot, so I knew nothing about this female lead. If she was a green tea like Julian, I'd definitely lock them together forever. Not far away, I spotted the legendary female lead. I have to say, the standard for a female lead in these novels is top tier. She looked like she stepped out of an anime. Delicate features, baby fat on her cheeks, and long black hair. Her clear dark eyes made her look like an innocent white rabbit, inciting an intense protective urge. But her current situation wasn't great. She was surrounded by a group of flashy-looking girls. The prettiest one among them, holding a cigarette, was trying to force it into the female lead's mouth. The others formed a circle, ready to teach her a lesson if she dared refuse. Let her go. No, step aside. Using my physical advantage, I shoved past the outer circle, grabbed the smoking girl's wrist, and pulled the female lead behind me. What the fudge? Who are you? The flashy girl shook off my hand, glaring at me, while rubbing her arm as if disgusted a guy touched her. Is she a lesbian? I mentally judged her, then pulled out my phone with a bright smile. Bullying is wrong. If you don't want trouble, leave now. I've already called the cops. Reasoning with these delinquents had a 1% success rate. Using the cops as a threat bumped it up to 99%. With punks, using underhanded methods beats reasoning. That's what I learned surviving in the chaotic fish market. Hearing about the cops, the leader sneered, muttered something to her gang, and yelled, "Watch your back! You got lucky!" Then they quickly left the alley. Kids these days, they believe anything. Watching them run, I curled my lip and turned to the girl behind me. Are you okay? She looked up, her head slightly lowered, revealing a silly but adorable expression. This female lead isn't a naive sweet girl. She's a pure white lotus. Seeing her fragile, pitiful look, I made my assessment. They're gone. Do you need me to call your family? My family isn't here. She stared at me with her clear eyes, smiling foolishly. But thank you anyway. Her voice was soft and sweet, tingling the heart. Yep, definitely a naive sweet girl. No need to thank me, I said. But next time this happens, remember to fight back. Otherwise, they'll just keep pushing you. Understand? Bullying is despicable, no matter the age. Even knowing she was the female lead, I couldn't help but advise her. I know. She nodded obediently and said seriously, I'll remember what you said. Good, I nodded. Meeting is fate. Let me buy you a milk tea. 30 minutes later, I casually sipped my milk tea, walking back into the club. System. Holy mother of, I am a dog. Hearing the system's breakdown, I took a sip of boba and replied calmly, tell me, did I complete the mission or not? If the system had a physical body, it would have shown me why flowers are red. I told the host to help the female lead meet the fake young master. Why did you show her a picture of Julian, and a black and white picture at that? Do you think he's dead? Despite its anger, the system had to swallow it. Technically, I did let the female lead meet Julian. Are you my mom, and a mom going through early menopause? I asked curiously. If you systems have genders, do you have kids? Do they have to work immediately? Isn't that child labor? System, I'm deleting myself. Hearing my rambling, the system gave up arguing. Dealing with me was harder than dealing with a monk chanting scriptures. At the same time, at a barbecue stall near the alley, the girl was happily munching on a skewer while making a phone call. Help me arrange a school transfer. In a few days I want to. A few days later, in the faculty office of class 12 at First High School, Carter, I'm leaving. Sarah stood beside me, giving a peace sign and a bright smile. If there's anything you can't solve, call me or the family. We'll help you immediately. I nodded helplessly. I know, second sister. Go do your work. Because I hadn't focused on my studies before, I was at the average second high school. Evelyn used her connections to transfer me to the elite first high school, claiming the teachers here were vastly superior. This heavy motherly love was a lot. With my foundation before awakening my memories, I barely scraped by at second high. After awakening, I had zero interest in studying. If it weren't for old Arthur's 7-star belt, my grades would have plummeted. Now at first high, my grades were definitely going to nosedive. But the main reason I came here was the system. Just like the Lewis family home, this school was a major event location. If old Arthur found out I skipped, just thinking about my butt shattering into 8 pieces made me shudder. Alright, if you're not used to it, tell me. Sarah patted my shoulder and left. Student Carter, sit here for a moment. After Sarah left, the middle-aged teacher said, besides you, there's another transfer student today. You two can get acquainted first. To prevent me from being isolated, she wanted me to make a friend so I'd at least have someone to talk to. Yes, ma'am. I smiled obediently, sitting in the empty chair. Looking at the dead system in my head, I sighed. Why are you so stingy? Just show me the plot. Would it kill you? System. I can't hear you, la la la. Just as I was about to keep persuading it, the office door opened. A girl carrying a backpack walked in. What a coincidence. Hearing the soft, familiar voice, I looked up. I smiled and waved. So the other transfer student is you, Sophie? Seeing Sophie, Tumos here wasn't surprising. This was an event hotspot. It made sense for the female lead to appear, but I didn't expect her to be a transfer student like me. I didn't expect us to be classmates either. Sophie extended her right hand. Please take care of me from now on. I shook her soft, boneless hand and smiled. Let's take care of each other. Half an hour later, in the back row of class 12-1. As the teacher dismissed the class, I rubbed my aching head. As expected, the curriculum here was insane compared to second high. Everything the teacher said sounded familiar, but I didn't actually know any of it. Coincidentally, my former fiancée, Serena, was also in this class. But she sat in the front, and I was in the back. Thanks to the pressure of the college entrance exams and existing social circles, no one came to talk to us transfer students. As I was packing my books, a soft, slightly nervous voice came from beside me. I turned to meet a pair of clear, sparkling dark eyes. She didn't look away, just smiled and pointed at a problem in my workbook. The way you solved this is wrong. She rested her left cheek on her hand, her peach blossom eyes curving into crescents. Her baby fat made her look incredibly pure, like a blooming flower. What's wrong? Seeing me stare, Sophie shyly lowered her head, her voice as quiet as a mosquito. Did I say something wrong? Oh no, this female lead is toxic. How is she so attractive? I awkwardly pursed my lips and pointed at the workbook. You're right. Could you explain this problem to me? Sure. Sophie looked up, placing the workbook between us. Perhaps because she was focused on explaining, the awkwardness faded. I have to admit, she explained it incredibly well. For every step, she patiently broke down the principles and methods. So the conclusion is roughly like this. Do you understand? After calculating the answer, she looked up at me with expectant eyes. I nodded, pretending to be serious. Roughly. I couldn't exactly admit I was too busy looking at her to listen to the explanation. Catching the hesitation in my voice, Sophie covered her mouth, giggling softly. Do you want me to help you review? I didn't answer immediately. Weighing the effort of studying against the fatherly love of old Arthur's belt, I decisively chose the former. All right. I patted her head seriously. In exchange for tutoring me, as long as I'm here, no one will bully you. Subjects like literature and biology I could brute force memorize. But math and physics took too much time to figure out alone. As for her being the female lead, who cares? The system was playing dead anyway, and it never said the true young master couldn't interact normally with the female lead. Besides, hanging out with a sweet, naive girl like Sophie was quite nice. I made that promise because I had seen the bully leader from the alley in the hallway earlier. According to the tropes, that gang was standard cannon fodder, meant to bully the female lead and push her toward the fake young master. Feeling the warmth of my hand, Sophie blushed, looking up. Is this? Are you saying you want to protect me like last time? Yeah, what do you think? Meeting her starry eyes, I joked, follow me, and I guarantee you'll be well fed and entertained every day. It was the second semester of senior year. Unless someone had a screw loose, no one wanted to cause major trouble. Protecting this naive girl on school grounds would be a piece of cake. Then I'll rely on you to protect me, Sophie smiled radiantly. This silly girl must have been bullied a lot before. Thinking of the novel tropes, a complex emotion flashed in my eyes. Just as I was about to speak, the quiet classroom erupted in chatter. Look, Julian is here looking for Serena. At the door, Julian walked in holding bubble teas, gesturing outside. Yes, I brought bubble tea for the whole class. Consider it a back-to-school gift. The class cheered, praising young Master Julian's generosity. Julian smiled, bringing a cup to Serena. Serena, this is your favorite flavor. Even though he was kicked out, he still had a chance to return. Yesterday, Fiona, the eldest sister, called, saying she'd help him once she finished her project abroad. She even transferred him 5 million in pocket money. With that money, he was back to living large. When he left the Lewis house, he wasn't allowed to pack, and his cards were cut. If it weren't for this 5 million, he would have had to sell his luxury items. As for Serena, through a few days of soft-spoken manipulation, he temporarily erased the bad impression from last time. At least on the surface, she was back to normal. He came today to secure her and deal with me. He knew I was in this class. If I wouldn't let him live in peace at home, he wouldn't let me have peace at school. Plus, he wanted to stop me from stealing his girl. Who knew what I was thinking? I said I didn't care about the engagement, but what if I stole her secretly? If he lost the Lewis family's favor, he needed the Coldwell family as a backup. Looking at the milk tea, Serena's beautiful eyes flickered, but she accepted it. Unlike the flashy Julian, she didn't like drawing attention. She went to the Lewis house previously, mostly out of a decade of childhood affection. When she heard he was being targeted and kicked out, she wanted to seek justice. Though the incident lowered her opinion of him, a decade of friendship isn't easily severed. To save his face, she accepted the tea. Hearing the cheers, Julian's lips curled up, shooting a mocking glance at me in the back row. But then, his eyes were drawn to Sophie sitting next to me. Her stunning looks and adorable aura captivated him. Instantly, a brilliant plan formed in his mind. Carrying a milk tea to our desk, Julian offered it to Sophie. "You must be the new transfer student, right? Carter's temper isn't the best. It must be hard on you." Having successfully fooled Serena, he was less afraid of my video. Plus, a delusional voice in his head whispered that the video was gone. Empowered by Fiona's backing, he dared to provoke me again. But Sophie just glanced at it, then shrank closer to me, her small hand instinctively gripping my shirt corner. Her action perfectly embodied, weak and pitiful. "Is this a green tea? The scent is strong." Feeling her grip, I patted her hand and joked with Julian. "I heard the projector in this class can play videos. I want to test my phone's Bluetooth connection. What do you think?" If he wanted to play, I'd play. But seeing his confidence, I figured some dog had deleted my videos. Still, I wanted to mess with him. Hearing my words, Julian panicked briefly but quickly calmed down. Know yourself and your enemy. He knew me. If I still had the video, I would have just played it like last time, not talked nonsense. A barely visible smirk appeared on his face. He quietly loosened his grip on the milk teacup. Splash! The milk tea spilled all over his pants and shoes. "Carter, we aren't strangers. If you don't like me, just say it. Please stop bullying me." Julian's tragic wail made the whole class turn their heads. Hearing him say, "We aren't strangers," and "stop bullying me," everyone's gaze toward me turned strange. Compared to a new transfer student, they naturally trusted Julian more. Some who had received favors from him started sneering. "Didn't expect someone looking so good to be a bully." "Hold on, big boss. Why are you crying like a little girl?" Hearing the whispers, I remained calm, resting my chin on my hand, watching him like a show. "You keep saying I bully you. Tell me, how did I bully you?" If he wanted to play big, I'd give him a show. Trying to isolate me? Let's see who burns. I didn't care about the class's approval, but I wasn't going to take his crap lying down. Why are you forcing me?" Seeing Serena approaching, Julian secretly pinched his own arm hard, lowering his head to look incredibly wronged. I have to admit, he had created his own unique style on the path of the green tea. Serena arrived at the back row. Seeing his red eyes and the red mark on his arm, her face turned cold. "Carter, you've gone too far. Julian just wanted to make peace. Why did you treat him like this?" Her words hammered me into the position of the bully. If I admitted it now, I'd be targeted by the whole class. "Miss Coldwell, exactly how did I treat him?" I stood up, looking down at the two of them. Thanks to helping old Arthur at the fish stall, I was a robust 1.8 meters tall. My imposing figure made the whispering students instantly shut up. Most people are selfish, especially in senior year. No one wanted to affect their studies by defending someone else. What are you going to do?" Seeing me stand up, Julian instinctively took 2 steps back, hiding behind Serena. "If you dare touch me, eldest sister won't let you off when she gets back." "Did I say I was going to touch you?" I sneered at him, hiding behind Serena. "I just want to clear things up." But seriously, hiding behind a girl's back? Are you for real? I didn't expect this coward to actually pull a stunt like this. What kind of guy hides behind a girl defending him? Hearing my words, Serena suddenly realized something. She felt like she had been pushed from behind just now. Combined with Julian hiding behind her, her expression turned very ugly. Seeing her face change, Julian quickly made an excuse. Don't frame me. I just accidentally stepped in the spilled tea and took a few steps back. Why are you always targeting me? You stepped back at a very convenient time, I chuckled. Right when I stood up. But your memory is terrible. Look over there. What's that? Following my pointed finger, Julian's face turned pale. Up in the right corner of the back row, a shiny security camera hung conspicuously. Where did that come from? It wasn't there last semester. So, want to go to the security room to check it out? Seeing his pale face, I pretended to be eager. If you're busy, I can go copy the video myself. I truly didn't expect him to be this stupid. Eating dirt once at the Lewis house wasn't enough. He dared to pull the same trick at school. Meeting my meaningful gaze, Julian knew he had to divert attention. He didn't answer my question but suddenly started crying. Carter, it's senior year. It's crunch time. I don't want this to affect your studies. But, please, don't bully me anymore in the future. I just want to study in peace. These words showed he cared about his classmates while implying I had a history of bullying him. 2 birds, 1 stone, self-righteous and sharp. Just as I was about to teach him a lesson, a soft voice chimed in. Why do you keep saying Carter bullied you? You clearly spilled the milk tea yourself, and you intentionally pinched your own arm. Sophie's voice was like a drop of water in boiling oil, making the quiet classroom erupt. Compared to me, who had a clear conflict with Julian, Sophie, with her adorable, easily bullied appearance, definitely wouldn't falsely accuse someone who just bought her milk tea. Yet she said that. That implicitly confirmed she saw everything. This girl really brings huge surprises. I glanced at Sophie, who was nervously gripping her shirt, feeling a bit shocked. I thought she would stay quiet, but she struck a critical blow at the perfect time. How could that be? Hearing the growing whispers, Julian forced a smile at Sophie. Carter clearly did it. If he forced you to say that, just tell the truth. We will protect you. He had used this trick many times to charm girls. He was confident it would work on Sophie. As long as she changed her story, I'd be nailed to the cross of a bully. I'm telling the truth. Carter didn't force me. Ignoring Julian's crooked Dragon King smile, Sophie said timidly, if you have a problem, just check the cameras. And please don't smile at me like that. Her voice was soft but carried a hint of fear. Anyone observant could tell she was afraid Julian might do something to her. Seeing this, I quietly shifted my body to shield her. You talk too much. Just go check the cameras. Seeing his rhythm broken and me insisting on the cameras, Julian panicked. He knew he absolutely could not let anyone check them or his persona would collapse. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he turned to leave. He had to get to the security room immediately. If there was evidence, he had to delete it. Remembering how I destroyed him with a single video at the Lewis, he shuddered. Watching Julian flee, the entire class was dumbfounded. Their worldviews shattered. Nobody here was stupid. Didn't Julian's actions prove Sophie was telling the truth? Thinking about how he orchestrated the whole thing to frame me, the way they looked at him changed entirely. At this age, they hadn't experienced the harshness of society, and were still pure. Julian's framing opened their eyes. Take your time. Watching his pathetic retreating figure, I pointed at the camera in the back. Forgot to tell you, this camera isn't even turned on yet, so no need to rush to delete the video like last time. When it comes to psychological warfare, I'm an expert. Now that the system was playing dead, I could do whatever I wanted as long as I didn't break its rules. Julian didn't answer. He just paused, clenched his fists, and hurried out of the class. Miss Coldwell, anything else? After he disappeared, I looked at Serena, who was still standing there. The arrogance in her eyes was gone. She clearly didn't expect things to turn out this way. Coupled with the incident at the Lewis house, this was the second time Julian had used her as a weapon. Thinking of how she had mocked me twice, Serena lowered her head in embarrassment and bowed slightly. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Surprised by her apology, I felt a bit awkward, but maintained my relaxed demeanor. It's fine, but please keep Julian on a tighter leash. Him causing trouble like this is really annoying. Serena didn't know how to respond. After these 2 incidents, she increasingly felt Julian was far from the sunny boy in her memories. The stark contrast made her heart chaotic. Watching her walk away, a subtle smile appeared on my lips. In the tropes, the fake young master's biggest backer at school is his fiancée. Now that Serena was showing signs of defecting, Julian wouldn't be able to cause much trouble here soon. Right then, my sixth sense gave me a chill down my spine. I turned around and saw Sophie's smile was gone. Her clear eyes showed a rare look of grievance, like a bride abandoned on her wedding night. Realizing I was looking at her, she quickly turned away, giving me the cold shoulder. Is this girl jealous because I was talking to Serena? Looking at her pouting, I suppressed a laugh and gently poked her arm. You did great just now, I'll reward you. Hearing reward, Sophie paused, turned back, and her silly smile returned. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation. She reached out her hand. I dug into my pocket and placed something in her palm. When you're sad, eat something sweet. It'll make you feel better. Because I was determined to study, I brought candy to replenish my sugar levels. Candy! Seeing the candy, Sophie's eyes lit up. She carefully put it in her pocket, smiling radiantly. Thank you, Carter. You're the first person to give me candy. Seeing her cherish it like treasure, I couldn't help but imagine her being bullied. She probably hadn't had an easy life. Being pretty and weak, it was normal for her to be isolated by other girls. Don't worry, you'll have plenty of candy from now on. Meeting her bright eyes, I said seriously, with me here, no one can bully you. I believe you. Sophie nodded with a smile, then suddenly remembered something, and asked softly, Carter, the person from earlier, is he the guy in the picture on your phone? Why did he frame you? Looking into her clear eyes, I decided not to tell her the ugly truth. Just treat him like a toad. He doesn't bite, but he's disgusting. Stay far away from him in the future, understand? Ew, toad, gross! Sophie shivered, rubbing her arms, and nodded seriously. I'll listen to you. Seeing her silly demeanor, I helplessly patted her head. Don't just believe everything people say in the future. You'll easily get sold. Would you sell me? Meeting her clear gaze, I quickly turned away. I was just giving an example. An example? Understand? I understand. Seeing my awkwardness, Sophie smiled seriously. Carter wouldn't sell me. Anyway, since we have time, let's go over the lessons. I have to admit, Sophie's lethality was extremely high. Even though I swore to lock my heart after getting scammed out of 5,000 bucks in an online romance in my past life, I was slightly moved. Alright, let's start, Teacher Sophie. She truly had a talent for teaching. For problems I couldn't solve or got wrong, she always spotted the issue immediately and explained it simply. If the math teacher taught like her, no one would fall asleep in class. Time flew by, and the school day ended. This is for you. If there's anything you don't understand, contact me. Sophie blushed, shoved a piece of paper into my hand, and ran out of the classroom. This silly girl. Looking at the piece of paper with her contact number and social media handle, a soft smile touched my lips. On the way home, seeing Butler William looking hesitant, I put down my notes and asked, Butler William, just say, what's on your mind? The old butler had peeked at me at least 10 times since we got in the car. Young master, you are very observant. Caught in the act, Butler William chuckled awkwardly, then spoke his mind. Eldest Miss has returned, and earlier I received news that young Master Julian, though he hadn't known me long as a professional butler, he noticed the shift in the Lewis family's atmosphere. If Julian used to be the sky of this house, now it was me. Moreover, compared to Julian, I never lost my temper with the staff. Yesterday, when Mrs. Wu accidentally broke a glass, I even helped clean it up. Therefore, he wanted to give me a heads up so I could mentally prepare. Eldest sister Fiona, huh? I quickly reviewed her information in my head. Fiona, an honors graduate in finance from Harvard, was currently the main decision-maker for the Lewis family's company. Most importantly, like her two sisters, she was single. Based on the timeline and age, she was very likely the first to blindly adore Julian. Thinking of this, I already had a counterplan. If she really sided with Julian, I wouldn't even need to lift a finger. Richard and Evelyn would definitely give Julian a taste of tough love. Returning to the Lewis villa, the moment I entered the living room, I heard an argument. Everyone makes mistakes. Mom, give Julian one more chance. After all, he's lived with us for so many years. You can't just kick him out because little brother came back, Fiona pleaded. Mom, I promise he won't do it again. Please, consider it fulfilling the wish you promised me when I came of age. Entering the living room, the situation was clear. Facing Evelyn was a girl in a business suit, looking similar in age to the other two sisters. Definitely eldest sister Fiona. Behind her was Julian, looking full of grievance. Beside Evelyn were Chloe and Sarah. Mom, if eldest sister says so, just agree. Your health is more important. Analyzing the situation, I quickly walked over and patted Evelyn's back. Mom, your health comes first. Everything else can wait. According to the tropes, even if I tried to stop Julian, he would eventually find a way back due to various reasons. Instead of fighting it, it was better to stand on the moral high ground. Plus, without this variable, how could I get the chance to kick him out for good? Carter, you're back. Feeling me pat her back, Evelyn reined in her agitation, holding my hand apologetically. I'm sorry, you had to suffer. Fiona and I were both her biological children. The palms and backs of the hands are both flesh. Earlier, she refused Fiona's request because she didn't want to hurt me. Now that I spoke up, she went with the flow and agreed. It's fine, Mom's health is more important. I shook my head, smiling at Evelyn, then looked at my biological eldest sister. Seeing her eyes full of worry for Julian, I simply shook my head and helped Evelyn leave. If my guess was right, there was going to be a good show to watch soon. Fiona was Julian's last lifeline. He would cling to her at all costs. Looking at her expression, her feelings for Julian went far beyond sisterly love. Put these two together, one full of ulterior motives, one full of emotion. What would be the result? But Chloe and Sarah didn't understand my intention. Seeing me just glance at Fiona and help Mom leave, they felt sad. Sister, you went too far this time. Sarah bit her lip, spoke to Fiona, and chased after Mom and me. Julian, you're on your own. Chloe shot a deep glare at Julian, who was being protected by Fiona, and turned to leave. In their hearts, if Julian hadn't stubbornly returned, the house wouldn't be in such chaos. Now they only felt disgust for him. Should I just leave? Seeing everyone walk away, Julian, despite wanting to run them all over with a car, put on a miserable face. Mom, second sister, third sister. It's okay, Julian, eldest sister is here. Fiona patted his head, smiling. Go back to her room first. I already had someone tidy it up for you. Thank you, eldest sister. I love you the most. Julian hugged Fiona tightly. Feeling his warm embrace, Fiona didn't push him away. A hard-to-detect emotion flashed in her eyes. Half an hour later, at the main dining table. Looking at me sitting opposite her, Fiona thought for a moment and said softly, Carter, Julian was just afraid of you coming back. That's why he did that. He didn't mean to frame you about the video. I also heard the two girls mention it. I apologize on his behalf. Fiona was sharp. She knew about the video from her sisters, but because Julian cried, she chose to believe him. However, my recent actions and reaction in the living room made it impossible for her to hate me. You don't need to tell me so this. I raised a hand to interrupt her. What's decided is decided. Let's not bring it up again. Instead of talking to me, you should figure out how to apologize to Mom. What she really wanted to say was, don't target Julian, forgive him. If it weren't for Julian's self-destructive actions earlier, this sister wouldn't have just said a few simple words. Seeing I didn't want to continue the topic, Fiona pursed her lips, saying seriously, regardless, I apologize for his past actions. She really liked Julian, but no need, you didn't do it. Looking at Fiona bowing her head for love, I rested my chin on my hand and smiled. Instead of talking about this, tell me, did you see anything fun while abroad? If she were the typical evil eldest sister who tried to hit me, I would have shown her why flowers are red. But she knew right from wrong, so I didn't need to act arrogant. Plus, I had other plans. Things abroad. Seeing my attitude shift, Fiona sighed in relief. Actually, there was one thing. What she didn't notice was that, during our pleasant conversation, a pair of venomous eyes glared at us from the corner of the second-floor hallway. 10 minutes later, Richard took his seat, and the servants began serving food. Thanks to the harmonious conversation between Fiona and me, the previous tension dissipated. After all, the Lewis family didn't want to see siblings hating each other. When the food was almost fully served, Fiona looked at the empty seat next to her and asked the servant, why hasn't Julian come down to eat? At the mention of Julian, the harmonious atmosphere vanished. Everyone's eyes quietly shifted to me, worried I'd be upset. The servant looked awkward, glanced at me, and pressed her lips together as if wanting to speak. Just as she gathered the courage to open her mouth, I interrupted. Were you going to say young Master Julian is in a bad mood and doesn't want to eat? I then shot a glance at Fiona, ensuring she understood he wasn't coming down because of me. Hearing my calm, emotionless voice, the servant's hesitant expression froze. She hurriedly tried to defend herself. No! If not, then tell us why he isn't coming down. I rested my chin on my hand, staring at her. Being stared at by the whole family, the servant panicked. If she hadn't taken bribes from Julian, she wouldn't have dared do this. Now that I called her out, what could she say? Seeing her obvious guilt, everyone immediately understood I was right. Their dissatisfaction with Julian grew. Eldest sister, now do you see why I opposed him coming back? Chloe glared angrily at the servant, then turned to the silent Fiona. To avoid affecting the family, you need to make him leave. Facing everyone's gaze, Fiona opened her mouth but couldn't speak. The servant's actions said it all. Julian's motive was too obvious. All right, eldest sister, I hope you keep him in line. Stopping the others from arguing, I shook my head in self-mockery. Anyway, dealing with this is like stepping on a toad. It doesn't bite, but it's disgusting. I knew making things difficult for Fiona now was useless. She couldn't kick Julian out over one incident. Instead of dragging it out, it was better to push my plan forward. I'm sorry, Carter. I'll go find him right now. Fiona looked at me gratefully, stood up and headed upstairs. All right, let's eat. Watching her back, Evelyn clapped her hands. The food won't taste good if it gets cold. Yes, Chloe, Sarah, and I nodded in unison and started eating. Richard had remained as calm as an old dog the whole time, as if Julian's drama wasn't worth his attention. With Fiona gone, the dining room atmosphere turned harmonious again. I felt the time was ripe. I ate while asking Chloe, third sister, how are those movies you recommended? Movies? You guys watch them behind my back again? Hearing us mention movies, Sarah protested. This was supposed to be a three-person activity. Why do I feel left out? What's secret watching? Chloe shrugged indifferently. I just finished the previous one. But compared to the others, this one is a real mind-bender. I mean, in reality, how could a sister fall in love with her brother and go against the family to be with him? The speaker has no intent, but the listener takes it to heart. Hearing Chloe's words, the entire Lewis family collectively looked up toward the second floor. Realizing everyone's gaze, Chloe gasped, muttering, "It couldn't be, right?" According to the plot development, when Fiona goes to find Julian, they might accidentally hug out of carelessness, and then accidentally kiss. Chloe didn't speak softly. Hearing this, the Lewis parents lost their appetites. They immediately stood up and ran upstairs. Eldest sister wouldn't really go that far, right? Sarah swallowed hard, watching her parents' retreating figures. Though she didn't finish the sentence, Chloe and I instantly understood. Let's go see. It's weird to just sit here eating without mom and dad. I stood up and headed for the second floor. Since the day I discovered Fiona might have special feelings for Julian through various incidents in the house, I had been preparing for today. But I didn't plan to kick Julian out, using just this simple trick. Even if he had no brain, Fiona wasn't an idiot. She wouldn't do something so stupid at a time like this. Therefore, this was just the appetizer. I had prepared a whole series of big gift packages for him. However, I still underestimated the power of a lovesick brain. As my sisters and I reached the second floor, a crisp slap echoed from Julian's room. Following that was the furious voices of Richard and Evelyn. "Get out of the Lewis house immediately," Richard roared. "You bastard," Evelyn cursed. "How dare you? Mom, Dad, listen to my explanation. It's not what you think." Julian panicked. Hearing the chaotic argument, I glanced at the stunned Chloe. "Joke's on you, third sister. Congratulations on becoming a prophet." Chloe forced a smile. "Thanks." 10 minutes later, in the living room, the servants had quietly withdrawn, leaving only the Lewis family members. Julian and Fiona were kneeling in the center of the room, awaiting judgment. Compared to Julian, Fiona, who only had a slap mark on her face, looked much worse. Her hair was messy, and her clothes had footprints on them. Marks from her using her body to shield Julian from Richard's fury. "Mom, Dad, since Julian has no blood relation to our family, then he and I..." Looking at her furious parents, Fiona didn't dare finish her sentence, but everyone understood. No blood relation means it's fine for us to be together, right? As for Julian, he was playing the turtle, hiding his head. Looking at her unrepentant eldest daughter, Evelyn clutched her chest as if she were about to faint. "Mom, calm down." I quickly supported her, took a heart pill from her pocket, and gave it to her. "Mom, don't get agitated. Let me talk to eldest sister." Julian had handed me this perfect assist. If I didn't keep acting, wouldn't I be letting down his self-awareness? After taking the pill, Evelyn looked disappointedly at the daughter she and her husband had once placed high hopes on, then sat down on the sofa with my help. Richard wanted to hit them a few more times, but for his wife's safety, he stayed by her side to care for her. "Eldest sister." I looked at the battered Fiona, placed a cushion under her knees, and said softly, "Think clearly. After all, having feelings for someone you raised as a brother since childhood." I didn't finish, but everyone got the point. Loving your own brother? Just thinking about it is explosive. If the situation weren't so serious, Sarah would have exclaimed that art truly imitates life. "Thank you, Carter." Seeing me carefully place the cushion, Fiona's eyes welled with tears. Compared to someone presenting flowers to Buddha, offering coal in the snow is always more touching. I've taken care of Julian since he was little. For a long time, I secretly prayed he wasn't my biological brother. Before finding out he wasn't related by blood, I always suppressed my feelings. Even when I went upstairs just now, I hadn't truly made up my mind. But when Julian hugged me and said he was afraid you would take me away, my heart was in chaos. If it weren't for that, with her intellect, how could she have planned to do that in the room at a time like this? During that time, did you ever see a therapist? I held Fiona's shoulders and asked seriously. You two have a huge age gap. When Julian was a toddler, you were already in elementary school. With that age gap, your social circles and lives shouldn't have intersected. If under those circumstances you still... Seeing my concerned look, Fiona turned her face away, her voice small. I wanted to give up, but Julian treats me so well, I couldn't do it. Eldest sister, perfect timing. Julian, who had been playing dead, jumped out, putting on a pitiful, innocent face, as if he didn't know his actions had consequences. His words could be interpreted in many ways, depending on the listener. Seeing his fake act, Fiona lowered her head in shame, as if her actions had tainted her brother's pure care. Almost there, just need a little more fuel. Thinking of this, I delivered the soul-interrogating blow to my sister. I want to know, every time you tried to give up, did Julian make you feel like he also had those feelings? Furthermore, did he accidentally create physical contact that crossed the line between siblings? Hearing this, Fiona looked up in shock. How did you know? Julian's face instantly turned chalk white. Before he could defend himself, Evelyn, who had been resting, walked over and slapped him hard. Can't you see he was seducing you? Evelyn looked in utter disappointment at the stunned Fiona. Richard immediately clapped his hands, calling for a few burly maids. Drag this bastard out! Mom, Dad, don't kick me out. Before Julian could finish, I unleashed a lion's roar slap onto his face. Shut up, you scum! Eldest sister was so good to you, and you schemed against her? The slap was so hard that Julian's right cheek swelled visibly, and a tooth flew out. Seeing him crash to the floor, Fiona hurriedly grabbed my arm, trying to stop me from hitting him again, sobbing, Carter, don't hit him. This is my fault too. She was truly a warrior of pure love. Even knowing Julian intentionally hooked her, she couldn't forget him instantly. For your sake, eldest sister, I'll spare him this time. I helped Fiona up. Let's go, I'll take you upstairs. But seeing her stubbornness, Evelyn yelled upstairs. Or do you want to anger your mother to death before you're satisfied? Seeing her mother panting heavily, Fiona lowered her head and sobbed. Mom, don't be like this. I'll go with Carter. Half an hour later, on the swing in the Lewis family garden, I was listening to a horror story on my phone while chatting with old Arthur about the past few days. However, I didn't mention much about tonight. Some things shouldn't be spread. Silence was good for the Lewis family and old Arthur. Besides, Julian was his biological son. I didn't want him to be sad over Fiona's punishment. After discussing it, everyone decided to ground Fiona until she woke up to reality. As for Julian, he was naturally kicked out by the parents again. But unlike last time when a car took him, this time he could only walk or call a cab. I feel a bit evil. Looking up at the scattered stars, I put down my phone and teased the system. Hey, are you sure you aren't a villain, system? Does this mean I can officially be the bad guy? System, refusing to speak with the host. Though scheming against my sister made me feel a bit guilty, this operations technically pulled her off the wrong path. Julian was truly a worthless piece of green tea trash. While I was chatting with old Arthur, Sarah and Chloe came out to comfort me, led by a servant. They originally planned to sneak up and scare me, but hearing the faint sounds from my phone, they perked their ears up. Just as the police officer in the story was about to leave, a little girl in red suddenly appeared behind him, holding the skull of the victim that had been missing for days. Mister, are you looking for this? Seeing the stunned officer, the girl smiled, holding up the rotting skull. This ball is broken, give me yours! Before he could react, the terrified officer realized the girl had vanished. While he was searching, a chilling laugh echoed in his ear. Mister, your ball belongs to me now. In the dim light of the garden, hearing this story, Chloe and Sarah turned pale and instinctively hugged each other tight. The noise caught my attention. Seeing them hugging and locking eyes, I quietly turned away and said, Don't worry, I swear I won't tell Mom and Dad. But you two should be careful doing this at home. What if they come out for a walk? In my heart, I judged them. I thought you two were normal. Who knew you were the deepest closeted Yuri couple? If I hadn't accidentally seen this tonight, I wouldn't have guessed even if you beat me to death. Hearing my nonsense, the sisters froze. Chloe reacted first, pushing Sarah away awkwardly. You stinky brat! What are you thinking? We hugged because we heard you listening to a ghost story in the middle of the night. Sarah, a bit slower, also hurriedly explained, "Yeah, we were just scared by you." Whether they actually had something going on or not, they wouldn't dare act recklessly. Especially remembering their parents' fury tonight, Sarah had no doubt that if she and Chloe really had something, they'd be locked up in the city's strictest tutoring center within an hour. They just wanted to relax. Seeing them explain so seriously, I didn't argue and asked, "So, second sister, third sister, why did you come out here?" Even if they really had something, it wasn't my place to handle. Instead of forcing them, it was better to let them be free. This brat definitely doesn't believe us. Chloe glared at me helplessly, dragging Sarah to sit on either side of the swing. "We were worried you were sad, so we came to comfort you." Over time, she no longer felt the initial awkwardness. Sometimes she wondered if there really was a special bond between blood siblings. Otherwise, how could we become so close in just half a month? "Don't worry, I'm not that fragile." Meeting their worried eyes, I smiled and waved. If my heart was that weak, I would have dropped dead the moment I came back. Meeting my biological parents after a decade, only to find the house had no place for me. If I lacked a sense of immersion and didn't have an adult mindset, my heart would have turned cold. If I were the original Carter from the novel, I wouldn't be sitting on a swing chatting with my sisters right now. I'd be in a basement or a utility room, enduring the family's sarcasm and Julian's green tea bullying. Let's forget about that day. Hearing me mention it, Chloe scratched her head awkwardly. She hadn't forgotten our first meeting. Taking the opportunity, she asked her burning question. "Carter, when you first came home, did you already know Julian had issues?" In her eyes, anyone entering a strange environment would try to blend in, but I completely shattered the Lewis family's existing ecosystem. I couldn't exactly say I knew the true fake young master tropes, so I thought for a moment and gave a reasonable excuse. At the time, I just thought he was a bit of a green tea, constantly throwing dirty water on me. When he took me to my room, I was certain his mindset was twisted. Chloe nodded thoughtfully. "I see. No wonder from then on, you went from opposing everyone to solely targeting him." "Not entirely." I smiled at them on the swing. "It's because you guys treated me well. If you two were the typical evil sisters in movies, I'd probably still be fighting you in a battle of wits and courage right now." Sarah laughed out loud. "You dare compare us to evil sisters?" Chloe pouted playfully. "Looks like we need to teach you a profound lesson on this. What are you guys gonna do? I'm warning you, I'm very tough. Don't tickle me. I surrender." In a flash, the quiet garden echoed with our playful laughter. At the same time, in a room on the second floor, looking at the three of us having fun in the garden, Fiona recalled Julian's actions tonight. She bit her lip and whispered, "Was I really wrong?" At 11 p.m., in my room on the second floor, after the great garden war with my sisters, I took a shower and lay spread-eagled on my massive 3x3-meter bed. Almost forgot about that silly girl. I sat up, taking the piece of paper with the contact info from my uniform pocket. I found Sophie's social media account and sent a friend request. Because of Julian's sudden stunt tonight, I forgot about her note. If it hadn't felt like something was missing, I might have forgotten completely. A few seconds after sending the request, it was accepted. Sophie's avatar was like her. A soft, squishy white polar bear, looking silly and pure. "Hello, Carter. I'm your deskmate, Sophie." Smile, this silly girl. Looking at the message, I chuckled and typed quickly, "Sophie, if you don't sleep now, you won't grow taller. Good night." "Good night, Carter." Moon. Putting down my phone, I imagined her staring blankly at the screen. Did this girl wait all night? With that thought, I quickly fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. The next morning in class 12-1 at First High School. "Morning?" I smiled, greeting Sophie and sitting down next to her.
"Good morning."
"Cease me sit." Sophie gently tugged my sleeve and offered me a grape.
"Want one?"
She smiled brightly, her teeth showing, her baby fat cheeks making her look like an adorable hamster. Looking at her expectant and slightly nervous eyes, I nodded with a smile. "Sure." I took a bite of the grape. The sweet, refreshing taste spread in my mouth. I gave a thumbs up. Amazing. I couldn't pick grapes this sweet myself. Knave, sweet girls like Sophie are adorable. But society isn't friendly to this type. Especially if she was timid, stepping into the real world would be tough. Bad people often drag good people down. But because I liked her, I wanted to help her improve her current situation. For shy people, encouragement is key, so I never missed a chance to praise her. Hearing my praise, Sophie's cheeks flushed, her eyes sparkling. She took a few more grapes from her desk and handed them to me, like offering treasures to a king. "I still have more." Looking at her silly smile, I smiled back. Then, I won't hold back. If you want to eat anything in the future, just tell me. I'll get it for you, okay? I really couldn't understand why those bullies targeted such a sweet girl. Hearing this, Sophie's eyes lit up with anticipation. Seeing me finish the grapes, she tried to grab more but couldn't find any. Huh? All gone? Noticing her action, I awkwardly scratched my cheek. I had eaten her entire stash. Heh, it's fine. Seeing my awkwardness, Sophie smiled, pulling out a whole box of grapes from her bag hanging by the desk. Here, I have plenty. She handed me a few more. I shook my head. You eat them. If you give them all to me, what will you eat? Even though I had a big breakfast, eating all her food again would be too much. But I still have a lot. Seeing me refuse, Sophie pointed at her bag, looking at me pitifully, her eyes shimmering like she was about to cry. This girl's lethality is way too high. Meeting her expectant gaze, I changed my tone. Then just this last time, you keep the rest, understand? Clearly I'm the one benefiting. Why does it feel like she's taking advantage of me? I took the grapes, eating and teasing her. Why does it feel like you're the one taking advantage here? Sophie giggled, scratching her head. Because you said you'd give me a lot of good food. So it's only right that I do this time. This silly girl. Just as I was about to say something, Sophie looked at her watch and whispered, I'm going to the restroom for a bit. Watching her leave, I was speechless. She even reports going to the bathroom. If this keeps up, will she report eating and drinking too? Thinking of her naive demeanor, I suddenly felt like I was raising a daughter. If I treat her like a daughter, and we end up dating later, wouldn't I become a... Seeing she hadn't returned, I left the classroom. Suddenly, I heard a commotion. There's only one sausage here. You think this will protect you? She actually got cornered in the bathroom. Hearing the voices from the restroom, I immediately kicked the door hard. The tightly shut door crashed to the ground. Not kicked open, but kicked down. The loud crash startled the delinquent girls inside. Seeing the door lying flat, they swallowed their curses. If they messed around and I kicked them, their small frames wouldn't survive. Damn, is this door fake? Looking at the fallen wooden door, I was stunned. Even with my current physique, I shouldn't be able to kick a door down like that. But thinking this was a school, it made sense. Old doors, high humidity, most of it was just a fragile shell. Whatever. I looked at Sophie surrounded by the girls. Sophie, come here. She went to the bathroom for 20 minutes. Turns out she was cornered. I just told her I'd protect her, and now my face was being slapped. Hearing my call, Sophie kept her head down and ran to me, acting like a flood of beasts was chasing her. Seeing her look down, I shielded her and asked, Are you okay? Sophie shook her head slightly, whispering, I'm fine. That's good. I held her shoulders, pushing her to a spot not far from the restroom. Wait here. I'll be right out. No fighting. As I turned back to the restroom, Sophie quickly grabbed my sleeve. Fighting will cause a lot of trouble. Don't worry, I'm just gonna talk some sense. I patted her head seriously. Be a good girl and wait, understand? I understand. Having settled Sophie, I returned to the restroom. Looking at the leader, I said, Hey. Before she could speak, I grabbed her arm, lifted her, and threw her in a majestic 360-degree shoulder throw. The intense back pain made her suck in a breath of cold air. She was about to spit some harsh words, but her face froze, and she quickly shut her mouth. Listen up. Don't cause trouble for her in the future. Looking at the stunned girl, I took the pack of cigarettes from her pocket and tossed it into the sink. If I see something like today again, it won't be this simple. You stole her grapes? This pack of cigarettes is compensation. Don't steal anymore. I'll take something every time you do. These girls holding grapes definitely took them from Sophie. I don't smoke, so tossing them was the best move. Seeing no one dared to speak, I stood up, glared at the delinquents, and walked out. Class was starting soon. I had no time to waste on them. Watching my retreating back, complex emotions flashed in the leader's eyes. Not anger, but an indescribable sense of grievance. On the way back to class, seeing Sophie silent with her head down, like she did something wrong, I got annoyed and poked her head. You silly girl, don't you know how to fight back when you're bullied? Sophie covered the spot I poked, whispering, Because you said you'd protect me, so I knew you'd definitely show up. Hearing her voice, small but firm, I didn't know what to say for a moment. After some thought, I gently lifted her face, saying seriously, word by word, But I can't be there all the time, right? So you have to learn to resist bad things. Say no to unreasonable demands. Understand? Even though this sweet, naive girl invoked a strong desire to protect her, I wasn't an accessory attached to her 24/7. The best way was to help her learn to say no. Feeling the warmth of my hand, Sophie blushed, nodding her head, her voice tiny. I know. Then she hurriedly took the remaining grapes from her pocket. Here, you eat the grapes. Didn't you just say you knew? Looking at her serious, innocent face, I helplessly pinched her cheek. At a time like this, you have to say no. No, not okay, understand? Meeting my exasperated gaze, Sophie blushed but said seriously, but I don't think giving you food is a bad thing. You're different. Just as I was about to continue my lecture, an angry voice echoed from afar, breaking the atmosphere and drawing our attention. Serena was marching quickly toward us, dragging Julian, who was clutching his cheek. These two are grouped up again. Seeing them approach, I subtly shielded Sophie behind me, asking coldly, "What's the matter? Julian has already left the Lewis family. Why are you still targeting him?" Serena glared at Sophie, who was blushing behind me. Targeting Julian is one thing, but why are you bullying Sophie too? I looked at Julian hiding behind Serena. You say I'm targeting him, why don't you ask him where that slap mark came from? And claiming I bully my new friend, I just want to say if you don't use your eyes, donate them to someone who needs them. I didn't expect Julian, after the massive drama at the Lewis house yesterday, would dare drag Serena to cause trouble for me today. Just how big is his ego? Or does he think I'm a pushover he can step on? Serena, I'm fine. Julian pulled Serena's sleeve, looking at Sophie peeking out from behind me, and said pitifully, Sophie, don't worry. Carter is just a bit rough. If you're worried about anything, just tell us. We'll help you solve it. Having been kicked out of the Lewis family again, he knew his chances of returning were slim, so he had to hold on to Serena tightly. Plus, he needed to make her hate me, so that even if the families wanted to push the engagement, she wouldn't choose me. If she chose me, he could still cuckold me and enjoy a life of luxury. That's why, after leaving the house, he immediately called Serena, claiming I threatened to leak his old video if he didn't obey me. Such a terrible excuse actually fooled her. He still thought I was two-faced. One way on the surface, another behind his back. Do you know that casually calling someone rough is very rude? Looking at Julian's pitiful act, Sophie gripped my shirt, looking confused. Also, boys usually protect girls. Why do you keep hiding behind a girl's back? Do you want Serena to protect you? And why do you keep saying Carter bullies you? I haven't seen him do anything or bully anyone. Her expression was sincere, not necessarily defending me, just stating what she saw and understood. But her series of deadly questions froze Julian's pitiful act. He couldn't answer a single one decently, especially the why hide behind Serena question. It felt like laying him on a guillotine. He quietly stepped out from behind Serena, lowering his head, pretending he wanted to speak but couldn't, intentionally showing off the slap mark on his face. He knew whatever he said now would be wrong. Acting bullied was his only chance to flip the situation. Seeing Julian silent and noticing the slap mark, Serena frowned and turned to me. Anyway, you gave him that slap, didn't you? Though she noticed something off about his reaction, the atmosphere had reached this point. She couldn't just walk away halfway. Yes, I slapped him. I raised a hand, interrupting her. Don't rush. I'm not finished. I stepped forward, grabbed Julian by the collar, ignored his struggles, and slapped his other cheek hard. But I feel like I didn't actually deliver that first slap. You hit me again? Feeling the stinging pain on his left cheek, Julian howled. He couldn't remember which slap this was in recent times. For over a decade, let alone being slapped, he was rarely even bumped. You violent thug, let him go. Seeing me strike in front of her, Serena grabbed my hand. Let go, or I won't forgive you. I told you to fix your brain. I let go, and Julian, losing support, slumped to the floor. Julian, are you okay? Serena quickly crouched to help him. Serena, you see that? He hit me again. Julian dove into her arms, crying, and said to Sophie, Sophie, you see, he's a violent thug. Stay away from him before it's too late. Strangely, Sophie showed no intention of leaving. She stared at Julian's cheeks in confusion. The slap marks on his cheeks aren't the same. One is big, one is small. Her voice was soft and innocent, but it silenced the air. Even the howling Julian stopped, sucking in a sharp breath. Serena pushed Julian away and inspected his cheeks. Indeed, the right mark was much larger than the left, especially the finger marks, which were noticeably longer. Realizing this, Serena's face turned dark. This was the third time Julian had tricked her. Julian, what is going on? Explain yourself. Serena stood up, looking at him in disappointment. Even with over a decade of friendship, being used as a gun 3 times was unbearable, no matter how good her temper was. Moreover, this action suggested the previous 2 times might have been fake as well. Thinking of this, her face worsened. The argument attracted a crowd of students. Hearing Sophie's question, they compared the marks on Julian's face and started whispering. The situation was clear. Julian orchestrated everything to frame me. Seeing Serena's coldness, Julian's face went white. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. Yesterday, even though I hit him hard, the mark had almost faded overnight. To look bullied, he slapped himself to make it prominent. He didn't expect this mark to become the evidence exposing him. Serena, listen to me, it's not like that. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Julian blabbered nonsense while choking on sobs. Just as he was about to stand up, he went limp and fainted. Julian, seeing him fall, Serena panicked. After knowing him for over a decade, if something happened to him because of her, she couldn't be unfeeling. The crowd also panicked. Some wanted to call an ambulance. No need to call, don't waste public resources. I crouched next to Julian and pulled off his shoe. Feeling my action, 10,000 alpacas stampeded through Julian's heart. He forgot I had the tickle move. That's right, Julian was faking fainting again. This was his go-to move when facing unsolvable problems. At the Lewis house, if it weren't for me, they probably wouldn't have realized he was faking, and his framing might have been swept under the rug. Learning from last time, he held his breath this time. Ha! As long as I hold my breath, I won't smells my own feet, even if he takes my shoe off. But while Julian was focused on holding his breath, I raised the shoe high and slammed it hard against the sole of his foot. A miserable scream echoed through the hallway. Looking at Julian clutching his foot and rolling around, I tossed the shoe next to him. Just a joke, Julian. Next time you fake fainting, make it more realistic. You always faint at the most convenient times. I'd feel bad not exposing you. Saying that, I ignored the strange looks and whispers from the students and pulled Sophie into the classrooms. Serena took a deep breath watching Julian roll around. She didn't say anything harsh, just gave him a disappointed glance and went to class. As for Julian, besides the whispers from the students, no one cared about him anymore. I heard a teacher came by later, and Julian got up with a massive bruised ego and slinked back to his own class. Back in class, I pulled Sophie to her seat and smiled playfully. Good job. I didn't expect her to be so observant. If she became a detective later, she'd definitely be top tier. Responding to my teasing, Sophie said nothing. She just kept her head down, holding my right hand, and asked softly, "Does it hurt?" That was the hand I used to slap Julian. Action and reaction are equal. If his face swelled like a pig's head, my palm definitely took some damage too. Feeling her soft hand and the faint scent wafting from her, I awkwardly turned my face away. It's fine. Even though his face is thick, I've trained for a while. It's all red. Sophie gently held my hand, blowing on it while asking, "What exactly is wrong with that guy? I feel like he's always targeting you." It's a long story. I'll keep it short. Watching her blow on my hand, I half joked, "If I tell you, you'll think it's a cheesy soap opera. He's actually..." After briefly explaining Julian's identity and motives, I said seriously, "So if you ever run into him alone, stay as far away as possible. Understand? Toads are so gross." Sophie shuddered, rubbing her arms, and nodded seriously. "I'll listen to you." Seeing her silly look, I helplessly patted her head. "Don't just believe everything people say in the future. You'll easily get sold." "Would you sell me?" Meeting her clear gaze, I quickly turned away to explain. "I said for example." "An example? Understand?" I understand." Seeing my awkwardness, Sophie smiled seriously. "Carter wouldn't sell me. Anyway, since we have time, teach me something." I have to admit, Sophie's lethality was immense. Even though I swore to lock my heart after being scammed out of $5,000 in an online romance, I was a bit swayed. "Alright, let's start, Teacher Sophie." She truly had a gift for teaching. For problems I couldn't do or got wrong, she always found the issue immediately and explained it simply. If the math teacher taught like her, no one would sleep in class. Time flew by, and soon it was the break between classes. Just as I was about to continue educating, Sophie Serena, tasked by the teacher to distribute the placement test papers, arrived at our desk. Unlike other classes, the elite class required students to self-study beforehand. So on the first day, teachers gave a test to check their level and adjust the teaching pace. Seeing us laughing and talking, a gloomy look flashed in Serena's eyes, but she quickly hid it. She placed the test papers on the desk and said seriously to me, "I'm sorry, I misunderstood you again. If you need, I can help you review." Since she entered the school through the Lewis family's connections, she knew a bit about me. My grades were not outstanding. In fact, 80% of the students in this class could crush me in scores. No need to apologize. Who knows if there will be a next time. I waved my hand, looking at the silly Sophie beside me. As for reviewing, I already found a teacher. I won't bother Miss Coldwell. My words were harsh, but she couldn't refute them. This was the third time she was used as a gun by Julian to bother me. If roles were reversed, she might have said something even worse. Still, she wanted to make up for her actions. Seeing me shift the topic to Sophie, Serena pursed her lips and left with the test papers without a word. When she was far away, I glanced at my miserable test paper and asked, "Hey Sophie, if I keep asking you questions, will it affect your grades?" Even though I didn't like Serena, I had to admit she made sense. My current grades were quite bad. Catching up would take a lot of time and effort, but Sophie was different. From how easily she taught math yesterday, she clearly had a talent for science. If my dragging her down caused her grades to drop, I'd rather go home and hire a tutor, even if it cost me my free time. Hearing my worry, Sophie showed rare confidence. "It's fine, I've learned it all." Looking at her calm demeanor, I asked, suspiciously, "Learned the first part, or the whole thing?" She playfully tapped the book on the desk. Before school started, I finished studying all of the 12th grade material at home. Meeting her clear eyes, I knew she wasn't lying. Senior year just started, and she had finished the entire curriculum. In other words, if she wanted to, she could just stay home and wait for the college entrance exams. With her pace and scores, the teachers probably wouldn't have any objections. Looking at her silly appearance, I curiously poked her head. "I wonder how your brain grew to be so smart." Feeling the intimate gesture, Sophie just smiled sweetly and said nothing. "Ah, you're so smart. You must have been top of your class at your old school, right?" "Just okay." She rested her baby fat cheeks on her hands, thought for a moment, and said slowly, "Probably in the top 10. "What do you mean probably?" Hearing her uncertainty, I suspected she was bragging. "Or top 5. Asking this, I saw her lower her head as if trying to bury it in Mount Everest. I vaguely guessed it. "Sophie, are you better at science subjects?" Given she couldn't lie, she might genuinely be ranked lower. The only reason was that her subjects were unbalanced. Since she taught math and physics so easily, it must be the humanities dragging her down. Faced with the sudden question, Sophie jumped, stammering, I think so. Thought so." I looked at her seriously. "Then let me help you review humanities, okay?" Having lived 2 lives, I was quite confident in subjects that just required memorization. Humanities just need the right memorization techniques. Unlike science, where even if you memorize formulas, you need deep understanding to solve problems. But unexpectedly, Sophie shook her head vigorously. "Huh? Why? Do you not believe in my humanities skills?" I explained. "Actually, my sciences are weak, but humanities are easy for me. If you don't believe me, test me. It's not that." She lowered her head, whispering, "I help you with science, you protect me. But if you help me with humanities, does that mean you won't protect me anymore?" Her meaning was clear. The principle of equivalent exchange. She helps me study, I protect her. But if I help her study humanities, the balance is broken. She has nothing to give in return. If she accepts my help, protection might no longer be part of the deal. Looking at the nervous Sophie, I was speechless. This silly girl, so pure it made people want to bully her, yet that's exactly why she was so endearing. A few seconds of silence made her mood plummet. Her eyes welled with tears, her voice trembling. "You also think I'm useless, so you don't want to protect me anymore, right?" It seemed like if I nodded, her tears would fall. No, it's not that." Seeing her pretend to be strong while a tear was about to drop, I felt guilty. "Don't cry. I'll always protect you." I felt like if I didn't say that, I'd slap myself in my sleep tonight. Hearing this, Sophie wiped her tears and showed a sweet smile. "Then let's pinky promise. You're this old and still doing pinky promises?" Even so, I gently hooked my pinky with her pink one. Her small hand was soft and cool like an ice cream on a hot summer day, bringing a pleasant feeling. Hey, we promised. You have to keep your word." Looking at our hooked fingers, Sophie showed a rare fierce look. Like, if I broke the promise, the consequences would be severe. But her face wasn't suited for being fierce. She just looked like she was acting cute. "A gentleman's word is a bond." I pulled her pinky and smiled. "Please take care of me from now on, Teacher Sophie." Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye another class ended. Looking at my notebook of mistakes, Sophie rested her chin on her hand and smiled. "Carter is so smart. You already know almost everything. Keep it down. It's all thanks to Teacher Sophie's good teaching." I put away the notebook, stretched, and asked, "Are you going to the restroom?" "I'm going." I hadn't forgotten she got blocked last time. Asking like this meant if she wanted to go, I could conveniently protect her. Sophie's cheeks flushed slightly. I'm not going, you go ahead. Then I'll go alone. Just as I was about to stand up, 6 or 7 students from other classes appeared at the door. Before anyone could react, they looked toward me and started whispering, "Look, the guy in the back row is Carter. He's the one who hit Julian's face. You can't judge a book by its cover. Didn't expect him to be so violent. I don't understand how someone like that is still allowed in school." Hearing the whispers, the students in my class started looking at me strangely. They knew a bit about what happened at the door earlier, so they understood why I slapped Julian. Though they were a bit scared of my violence, they didn't think I did anything wrong. After all, once a green tea's true colors are exposed, everyone hates them. Hearing the gossip, Sophie showed a rare look of anger. Just as she was about to speak, I joked with her, "Sophie, wanna bet? Julian is probably hiding somewhere out there. As long as I speak or do something, he'll pop out, apologize, and say some cheesy lines." With Julian's level of green tea, he still wanted to fight me. I knew exactly what he was planning without even thinking. Wait for the perfect moment to play peacemaker, making everyone focus on his kindness. If successful, he'd play the victim a bit more and completely erase the negative impact from earlier. Sophie was stunned, resting her chin on her hands, looking curious like a child. "Really? Let's test it." I walked toward the crowd, raising my voice. "What, you guys here to stand up for Julian?" I didn't lower my voice, so the nearby desks heard what I said to Sophie. All eyes turned to the classroom door. 6 or 7 seconds later, Julian did not disappoint. He ran in from the door and began his performance. "Carter, don't raise your hand. They are my good friends. They just came to you because they saw my face was hit. If you're unhappy, take it out on me. Don't touch them. They're innocent." Looking at Julian with tears and snot on his face, a few students in the back row, who had heard my conversation with Sophie, couldn't hold back their laughter. "What's so funny?" The clear laughter made Julian pause his act. A bad premonition rose in his heart. He came to mediate and salvage his image in front of Serena, and if possible, fix his persona. But this laughter made him feel things were about to go south. Sure enough, a student clutched his stomach, laughing so hard it hurt. "Julian, how come I never noticed your acting is so good if you don't?" Then, he excitedly repeated what I had just said. Instantly, the way everyone looked at Julian changed. Even the friends who came to defend him had a dark glint in their eyes. Hearing the student's words, Julian felt like 10,000 alpacas were stampeding through his heart. It turns out before I even acted, that bastard Carter had already cut off my retreat. If I hadn't spoken first, his actions would be seen as protecting his friends. But now, wasn't he just self-directing a play, using others to build his own image? Looking at everyone's eyes, Julian knew he was doomed today. Just as he was about to fake fainting, he caught my lingering gaze out of the corner of his eye, as if saying, "Go ahead and faint. I have a new trick waiting for you." How did things turn out like this? The whispers grew louder. Julian didn't care about saving face anymore, and hurriedly left the classroom. His reputation was only ruined in class 12-1 right now. If he stayed, it probably wouldn't be just this class. Seeing Julian leave, his friends exchanged glances and also hurried away. Looking at their pathetic retreating figures, I crossed my arms and smiled. "Hey, next time, ask clearly before defending someone. Don't get used as a gun without even knowing it." If Julian wanted them as his shield, I would make sure they brought him some trouble. Teenagers' egos are very sensitive. My words were like roasting them over a fire. Even if they didn't do anything drastic to Julian, they definitely wouldn't lack petty tricks. After they disappeared, I turned back and smiled at the students staring at me. "Alright, the entertainment is over. Let's get back to studying." Haha. Most of the students laughed. This drama was truly captivating, just a pity it was too short. If it hadn't been exposed beforehand, there probably would have been more good scenes. At this moment, people subconsciously hoped Julian would show up again. After joking with the class, I casually walked back to my seat. Before I even sat down, I received a worshipful gaze from a certain girl. Sophie's eyes were beautiful and expressive. Even though she didn't speak, I could feel the joy radiating from her. "See? Told you I was right." I sat down, acting like everything was under control. I said that green tea would jump out right on cue. Carter is so amazing." Sophie clenched her fists excitedly. "There were so many of them, and you weren't scared at all. If it were me, I wouldn't even be able to speak." Maybe because she was too excited, her cheeks were a rosy, charming pink. Alright, no need to exaggerate. Faced with her sincere rainbow of praises, I felt a bit embarrassed. Thinking about how often she was bullied, I suggested, "Hey Sophie, do you want to learn martial arts? I was about to teach her a few quick, brutal moves like the groin strike or the eye poke. Serena was still staring at us. Her hearing was better than most, so she had been paying attention to my side. She instantly heard me say Julian would jump out. At first, she was skeptical. Even though Julian had tricked her several times, she still couldn't accept he was two-faced. But reality gave her a harsh slap. He didn't just jump out, he did it exactly as I predicted. Thinking of his recent actions, her newly settled heart fell into chaos again. He was getting further and further away from the sunny boy in her memories. Meanwhile, at the door of Class 12-8, since Class 12-1 and 12-8 weren't on the same floor, it took Julian a few minutes to get back. But he didn't enter immediately. He stopped to look at his friends a short distance away. As a manipulative green tea, he knew he had to coax this group. If any of them spread the story, his carefully crafted persona of 2 years would collapse. He didn't have the time or energy to brainwash them again. The best way was to handle them, ensure they didn't speak nonsense, and align their stories. That way, even if Class 12-1 students talked, his status in Class 12-8 wouldn't shake, keeping his chance for a comeback alive. Thinking of this, he hid his venomous look and smiled at his friends. Thanks for standing by me, everyone. From today for the next week, snacks and lunch are on me. How does that sound? The students exchanged glances and nodded in unison. Only an idiot wouldn't take advantage of this. Tangible benefits are the most real. Deal. I'm going in. Waiting for them to enter, Julian dropped his smile, looking toward Class 12-1. Carter, just you wait. I won't let this go easily. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. Perhaps fearing a beating or lacking an opportunity, Julian rarely appeared in front of me. Sophie, under my guidance, had learned a few simple martial arts moves to control a male opponent. As for female opponents lacking a practice dummy, I couldn't teach her yet. The ultimate techniques of the legendary eunuchs aren't easily passed down after all. On the way to the Lewis family's old estate, looking at the message Sophie sent, my lips involuntarily curled into a smile. Teacher Sophie, I have a family event today, so I won't be studying with you. Per the request of a certain someone recently after school, if I have any questions, I message Sophie. Me, alright, I'll message you when I get home, okay? Even through the phone, I could imagine the silly girl smiling. Noticing me staring at my phone, Evelyn glanced over. Carter, what are you smiling at? Although she asked, she secretly thought, is my son in love? As someone experienced, she was too familiar with this look. When she was dating Richard, she used to smile foolishly at his letters. Now kids just smile at their phones. Nothing, just reading a joke. I quickly shoved the phone in my pocket and changed the subject. Oh right, Mom, where is eldest sister? Today was the official welcoming ceremony organized by the Lewis family. So even Fiona, who was grounded, was allowed out. The original plan was for the whole family to go to the villa together, but Fiona disappeared right before we left. Hearing my question, Evelyn looked helpless and a bit annoyed. She said she'll come later and told us to go ahead. Remembering her eldest daughter's rushed departure, she felt uneasy. She just hoped Fiona wouldn't do anything stupid today. Alright. Even without eldest sister, you still have me and second sister. Chloe noticed the strange atmosphere and patted my shoulder. Just be a good boy later. Leave any trouble to us sisters. Third sister is right. Carter, just relax and follow the process. Sarah teased Chloe. When trouble comes, just push third sister forward and run. Hearing herself being treated as a disposable meat shield, Chloe pouted and glared at her sister. Don't worry, when the time comes, I'll drag you down with me before I run. Alright, stop joking you two. Evelyn smiled, interrupting them. She gently instructed, Chloe, Sarah, stay close to your brother later. If it's difficult, tell me. Yes, Mom. The sisters nodded in unison. Mom, I think we should still prepare a bit. Seeing the happy atmosphere, I thought for a moment and suggested, I bet eldest sister went to pick up Julian. If he shows up. I didn't finish, but everyone understood. According to the true-fake young master tropes, during the welcoming ceremony, the sisters usually go missing for some reason, creating an opportunity for Julian to cause trouble, dragging the true young master's impression down to rock bottom. Everyone exchanged glances. Without saying a word, they understood. Don't worry, Carter, Mom will handle it. Exchanging looks, Evelyn hid a dark glint in her eyes and smiled. You just remember to eat and drink when the party starts. While Evelyn was giving me tips for the ceremony, our car slowly pulled into the Lewis family's old estate. The estate was located on the highest peak, with only one road connecting it to the outside world. It was reportedly built by the Lewis family themselves. Even driving at top speed, it took half an hour to reach the city. Isn't this the classic setting for a closed-circle murder mystery? Looking at the dense forest behind and the single road ahead, my instinct was to call the police first. In novels, this kind of villa is always the site of an incident, sooner or later. Feeling the touch of nature? Seeing me look at the forest, Chloe patted my shoulder. For safety, Carter, don't go into the woods, it's complex in there. Getting lost is annoying. To give the grandparents a peaceful environment, the entire forest was bought by the Lewis family. Except for the villa area, the rest was basically a no-man's land. In this season, snakes, rats, and insects were rampant. Going in alone was dangerous. Don't worry, I'm not a curious kid. I smiled, shaking my head, looking at the distant villa. Why do Grandpa and Grandma live here? The commute is so inconvenient, right? Chloe's eyes looked dreamy. This is where Grandpa and Grandma first met. In their old age, they wanted to return to a peaceful life. Don't worry about convenience. Besides a full medical team, everything is perfectly equipped. Third sister, you really admire their love, huh? Seeing her look, I patted her shoulder and teased, "Why don't you take a walk in the mountains? Maybe you'll meet a Tarzan who's your type." Hearing Tarzan, Chloe glared at me. "What? You brat! Get out of here! Ruining the mood with Tarzan! Alright, be serious you two. We're here." The car stopped in the parking lot. Sarah adjusted my clothes and smiled. "Carter, do your best. Today is the day you officially return to your roots. Don't worry, second sister won't let you lose face." My aura was gradually becoming more restrained. If I looked like an immature teen before, I now exuded a calm, mature vibe, hard to describe, but easily felt. Seeing my change, the Lewis family members exchanged glances, their lips curling up. This brother really always brings surprises. The welcoming ceremony was meticulously prepared by the Lewis family, inviting many influential figures in the city. When our car entered the lot, most guests looked over, eager to strike up a conversation with the head of the family. A rare opportunity to network with the Lewis family could bring immense benefits to their own clans or companies. But when the family stepped out, many looked confused. They didn't see the little young master of the Lewis family, but rather an unfamiliar young man, enthusiastically surrounded by the two Lewis misses. Except for a few insiders, most didn't know the purpose of the banquet. The sharp ones guessed a bit, and started whispering about my identity. I ignored the whispers. Chloe held my hand and led me into the banquet hall, whispering, "Let's go see Grandpa and Grandma first." Before we entered, Sarah tugged my sleeve, reminding me, "Grandpa and Grandma are on the second floor. Be polite later, understand?" Even as an adult, she still feared Grandpa Lewis's strict discipline from childhood. I looked up to the second floor and saw an old man and an old woman looking down at me with kind smiles. Compared to the grandmother, the grandfather's eyes held not only affection, but also a hint of satisfaction. After evaluating the situation, we went upstairs to meet them. Evelyn stood beside me, saying gently, "They've wanted to meet you for a long time, but because they were preparing for the ceremony, they waited until today." Since Richard had to host, she took charge of guiding us. She was worried I wouldn't get along with them, so she vaccinated me beforehand, showing their affection and helping me accept them easier. "Don't worry, Mom, I know what to do." Understanding her intent, I smiled. I want to chat with them too. Growing up in the fish market, I was pretty good at coaxing the elderly. From their eyes, they seemed satisfied with me. It wasn't like the typical only acknowledges the adopted grandson, rejects the biological one trope in these novels. "Let's go up together." Just as Evelyn was about to lead the way upstairs, a commotion erupted at the hall entrance. Is this rebellious daughter trying to anger me to death? Seeing Fiona holding Julian's hand as they walked in, Evelyn wanted to rush down and slap her. What day was it today? And she dared bring Julian, the thorn in everyone's side, here! If I hadn't held her back, she would have rushed down to display some mother-daughter affection. Besides Evelyn, Chloe and Sarah also looked furious. Not for any other reason, but because the outfit Julian was wearing was exactly the same as mine, not just similar, identical. This outfit was designed by Sarah herself. Now appearing on Julian, there was only one explanation. Fiona copied the design and had one tailor-made for him. Looks like my previous move was too light. Didn't wake eldest sister up at all. Alright, Mom, second sister, third sister. Seeing their faces turn black as ink, I smiled and pulled them upstairs to meet the grandparents. Don't let irrelevant people ruin your mood. Julian's appearance wasn't out of my expectations. Ever since Fiona didn't come with us, I was mentally prepared. But I was a bit surprised she dared to copy Sarah's exclusive design for him. Hearing my words, the three Lewis women glared at Fiona and Julian, then continued upstairs. Meeting their gazes, Fiona's face went pale. She knew she had messed up. One day, passing Sarah's studio, she saw the design sketch. Thinking it looked nice, she secretly had someone make it to Julian's measurements. Today, seeing me wearing it, she finally realized it was Sarah's exclusive design for me. She originally didn't plan to bring him, but unable to withstand his tears and begging, her lovesick brain took over, and she agreed. She completely forgot about the outfit. Now, facing her family's glares, her love-addled brain finally snapped back to reality. Just as she was about to quietly lead Julian away, he quickly ran to the stairs and called out behind us, "Mom, second sister, third sister, brother, good evening." Julian's main goal tonight was to use this opportunity to tie himself to the Lewis family. Even though Evelyn and the others hated him, they wouldn't say anything too harsh in front of guests for the sake of face. As long as he was nominally still a Lewis young master, he could use that identity to extract maximum benefits. At the very least, nominally, the Lewis family couldn't cut his support. If things blew up, the Lewis family would be the ones losing face. He believed they would choose to spend a little money to save face. Hearing Julian call out, the reactions of the Lewis women were exactly as he predicted. For the sake of the family's reputation and mine, despite their anger, they didn't plan to tear him down right now. But before they could speak, I beat them to it. "Excuse me, you are merely an adopted ward of the Lewis family." Looking down from the stairs at Julian below, I bluntly delivered the best counterattack. "My family has no blood relation to you, so don't throw titles around randomly. The Lewis family raising you to adulthood was already an act of grace. They provided you a place to live and paid your tuition, so I expect you to know your limits." Julian wanted to use the young master title to force the family to accept him temporarily. For the sake of face, I exposed his true status as a ward, and the obligations the Lewis family had already fulfilled for him. The Lewis family raised a non-blood related person for years, provided shelter and education. No matter where you go, no one could criticize that. Hearing my blunt words, Julian's face turned white. He didn't expect this country bumpkin to be so sharp. With just a few words, he turned him from a Lewis young master into an ungrateful, greedy leech. Furthermore, everything I said was factually based. He couldn't refute it, making the banquet hall explode in whispers. The guests began comparing me to Julian. In terms of looks, I inherited the Lewis family's stunning genes, crushing Julian, who only had a decent aura. As the new young master, I exuded a commanding presence similar to Richard, while the battered Julian looked like a banquet waiter. Even wearing the exact same outfit, in everyone's eyes, I was leagues ahead of him. "Let's go." I cast a deep look at Julian and the pouting Fiona behind him, then led my family up to the second floor. On the second floor, Grandpa Lewis sat on the sofa, happily sipping tea and smiling at Grandma. "Looks like this newly returned grandson isn't bad." He quickly found the crux of the issue and counterattacked instantly. As the founder of the Lewis family empire, his eyes were sharp. My few simple words not only crushed Julian, but also demonstrated a quick wit that few possess under pressure. He believed that with cultivation, I could take the Lewis family even further. Hearing her husband praise their grandson, Grandma Lewis smiled and nodded. "He is a good child. Besides the eldest, the other two girls are already getting along with him. As for the eldest, we'll see." While they chatted, we arrived on the second floor. Chloe, with her lively personality, ran over and hugged Grandma's arm. "Grandpa, Grandma! Long time no see, I missed you to death." Grandma patted her head and smiled. "Your mouth is as sweet as ever, child." Chloe pulled me over to introduce. "Grandpa, Grandma, this is the brother we just found, Carter." Because the ceremony hadn't officially finished, they were still using my original name. "Hello, Grandpa, Grandma." Since I wasn't close to them yet, I just greeted them obediently and stood still. Sarah had been quiet as a mouse ever since she saw Grandpa Lewis. Grandma waved at me. "Carter, come here. Let Grandma get a good look at you." "Yes, Grandma." I trotted over and crouched in front of her. This detail made the grandparents even more pleased. Yes. Looks exactly like Richard when he was young." Grandma rubbed my cheek and turned to Grandpa. "Old man, where's the gift for your grandson's first meeting? Bring it out." The more she looked at me, the more she liked me. Maybe the skip-a-generation affection is real. Despite grumbling about being rushed by his wife, Grandpa Lewis pulled out an emerald pendant from his pocket. "This is a gift from Grandma and me. It's not too precious. Don't disdain it." Sarah, Chloe, and Evelyn were stunned. An imperial green emerald and you call it not precious? Are you hearing yourself? I accepted the pendant with both hands, smiling brightly. Thank you, Grandpa, Grandma. I will treasure it. Silly boy, let Grandma put it on you. Grandma placed the pendant around my neck. Not bad. Jade nourishes people, and people nourish Jade. This suits you perfectly. Thank you, Grandma. Just as I was about to say something, footsteps echoed from the stairs again. Then a voice made everyone frown. Grandpa, Grandma, long time no see. Everyone looked over and saw Julian and Fiona walking up. If it weren't for the grandparents being present, Evelyn would have rushed over and unleashed the electric 5-whip strike. She couldn't understand how these two still had the face to show up. Sarah glared at Julian, her eyes looking like they wanted to strip the clothes right off him. That outfit took her nights to design for me, and now it was on him.